Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. If only we could start this podcast right now. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 682. My name is Nick Henderson. I am joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Hello.
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello!
And Christopher Davis.
Hello.
So I want to tell you, when I'm editing this show, and I'm like trying to I line up all the claps, right? And then I sit here and I try to and then I use the intro, right, where I say your names and y'all respond as kind of like a gauge to see how on I am. And I'm always surprised. I always think I got it wrong because there's always seems like there's a little delay after I say Nolan, and then there's like it feels like a really long time before he responds. But now that I was actually just paying attention just now, that's just how it happens. It's
Well, Brad definitely took a very long time to respond to you tonight.
It's like a 30-second pause. Okay, it makes editing an adventure every time. Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. It's we have a lot to go over tonight. Biomutant is out. We're going to talk about that. We're gonna revisit Subnautica, but I think we usually do like heavy news topics anymore. We usually like to kind of rely on questions from our community. But it's been kind of a weird day. I say day because it's like every company, every gaming company apparently got together today and said today was going to be a day that they were going to announce stuff. Well, I guess today and tomorrow. We have a Far Cry thing tomorrow. But what is happening? E3 is less than a month away, and all of a sudden everyone's announcing shit and revealing gameplay. We have Horizon gameplay.
It's time.
I know, but you'd think they'd be saving this for...
Yeah, but no one cares about E3 anymore.
I think industry faith in E3 is at an all-time low.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's hard to not, it's hard to not have excitement, I guess, for E3. Or sorry, did I get that wrong? It's hard to be excited about E3 right now because it's all digital, and who even knows what the fuck it is.
It's hard to be excited
media
about
registration
E3.
invites yesterday.
And you know what?
Media registration invites for a all digital conference. Yeah.
And you know what? I was considering doing it until I realized that
Is that such a crazy concept? People who are presenting want to reach out to members of the press to give them information so they can publish this data. So if you're registered on E3 as a media personnel, you can get reached out to by that company. That makes sense.
Also, the media, the week prior to the public event is the media event. So technically speaking, if we're on the media list, we can
Wait, you're
make
not
appointments with companies.
Oh, so they split it up now? It's like media first and then... Oh, okay.
Right. There's like a 4 or 5 day, I think Monday through Friday the week before is media, and then Saturday through Tuesday is the public event.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that works with like reveals, like if there's stuff that's like being revealed, because a lot of the conferences are still happening during the public event. So I'm not sure if there's going to be things that are revealed there that press can play early, but if they're going to be under NDA, I don't know how that works. I would imagine it's NDAs.
Quest 12.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was a lovely transition, Brad, but that was an interesting... When did that happen? Like, why did that get suddenly announced in the middle of the... I mean, I know
it wasn't just that.
Well, there was a whole
Dragon
Dragon Quest event.
Dragon
They
Quest
announced
games.
a bunch of Dragon Quest stuff. Yeah. I've literally heard of none of these.
They announced Dragon Quest 12 last night.
Yeah.
Like at midnight.
Okay.
I mean, but it was in Japan, obviously. So, but
I just want to bring it back to video games instead of...
Hey, E3 is video game related, but like I said, we'll get to kind of our impressions of some of these big reveals. We got a release date for Dying Light 2. We got a Horizon Forbidden West gameplay. All kinds of crazy stuff happening today. Also, there were rumors flying around that I think from Jason Schreier that the Switch Pro was going to be announced potentially very soon. So we might touch on that a little bit. But before we do that, of course, I want to remind everybody, if you're not yet, please join our Discord at discord.gg/4player. We'd love to have you in there. It's a great time to be in Discord because it is E3 season. Even if the event itself is not like the most hype it is it is announcement season, and it's been kind of quiet because of the pandemic and everything. And I still think this E3 is probably going to be, relatively speaking, kind of quiet as far as reveals go, but there will be some stuff. And maybe more than I'm giving it credit for. So who knows? But we're going to be talking about all of that stuff in Discord. So if you want to be a part of the community, be a part of those conversations, jump in at discord.gg/4player. But yeah, let's get right into it. We got a lot of ground to cover tonight. We got a little bit of a late start. So why don't we talk about Biomutant? I know Nolan and myself have been playing, and I think we've played about the same amount.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest, this is this is a game I've been looking forward to since E3 2019.
Yeah, you doomed 2016 it.
It's been in development since about
Yeah, so you
2004.
you quake conned it.
No, but okay, first of all, there is a clear
Biomutant's
difference
back.
here. Yeah, there was no such thing as Biomutant prior to this, so that's not fair. But I never claimed the game was going to be brilliant. I just hoped it would be, and it certainly, I think,
Oh, sure.
demoed.
Sure.
It demoed pretty well.
Yeah.
But there's there's been plenty of games that demo. In fact, both of my favorite games of that E3, because Chris Davis and I were I think the only two people that went that year. So we each gave a booth award. We did Biomutant and Journey to the Savage Planet were our two favorite demos, and I think both those games demoed very well, but I don't think ultimately delivered on what they were going for. But yeah, we're playing Biomutant now, and reviews came out. Obviously, it's getting a mixed reception. But I don't know, Nolan. Where do you want to start with this? It's kind of a lot to say about this game, and you can go any number of directions.
Kind of based on I was watching you stream it a little bit the other day, and also participating a little bit in Discord and kind of reading on some stuff. And so I will agree that the game is very front loaded with a lot of shit. Like before it gives you the reins to explore this what seems to be a pretty big open world, it holds your hand for a very long time.
And it holds it in kind of a janky way.
Yeah.
Because it's constantly first of all, I think it's important to kind of preface this by saying this is a pretty big open world game developed by a team, I think 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, we're still fairly early. It seems like a game that probably needed some extra time in the oven. But yeah, being front loaded with a lot of tutorial and a lot of systems that it's introducing, and it's constantly yanking control out of your hand in these really jarring transitions. I feel like a lot of games do that where they there's a lot of story stuff happening early on in a game, and a lot of what they were probably going for is something very cinematic, but instead it's just very awkward, jarring transitions, quick, you can be walking towards a character that is going to trigger a cutscene, and you could be 20 feet away, and it triggers there's this really quick fade to black, and there's no subtlety or fancy camera work or anything, and then it goes into a kind of a very static dialogue sequence, which is kind of a bummer. I think presentation wise, it's a bit disappointing.
I also will say I don't love the delivery of the dialogue.
Oh no, yeah.
So all of the characters kind of speak in a made up language. It's very, I don't want to say Simsy, but kind of. And then
it actually reminds me a little bit of Banjo Kazooie too.
A little Banjo-y. It really reminds me, you know what, of fuck, why am I drawing a blank? Superland.
Yeah.
It very much reminds me of the characters talking in Superland, but the dialogue, for the most part, at least as where I'm at now, it's all voiced, but by a narrator.
Yeah.
And
so the whole
it's
game
a
is
weird
that. I'm
kind
pretty
of.
Sure.
It's a weird position because the narrator is almost translating for this character. It's not like they're saying what they're saying. It's oh, they're saying that they want this to happen. It's it's a weird kind of.
It's a nature documentary.
Kinda. It's just a weird position.
But what particularly bugs me about the narrator situation is that it wouldn't be so bad if the narrator just said what they were trying to say, and then you moved on. But you have to listen to the jargon. You have to listen to the weird creature
Yeah.
language first, and then after they finish saying their gobbledygook, he translates, and then you have to listen to him do it, and he delivers. His dialogue is actually, I mean, it's pretty good, I think, but he's very slow and articulate in the way he delivers the lines, so it takes forever to get through very simple conversations.
Yeah. It's not the best. And yeah, so to Blackheart and chat's point, you can skip, and I've been finding myself kind of just reading it to myself and then skipping, because so far a lot of the dialogue has not been important. And that's something that I don't know if just as I've gotten older my time has become more valuable, but I don't get me wrong, games when there is a really interesting conversation going on between characters, like a heated argument or review, I'm into it. But when it's oh, welcome to my village, you must defeat this other village or get them to join our, it's just the narrator is very monotone. Maybe there might be some emotion in the character delivering their lines in this made up language, but because I don't really get inflections from that, and I also don't care about that made up language, it's not like I'm gonna learn it or in any way. I just don't care, and so I almost feel like okay, you fucking just tell me this is a big fucking open world game. Just tell me I need to go to point B, and I'll do a thing, and then I'll go to point C. Just fucking tell me where to go. And that's I don't like. The problem is this game is trying to do both. It's trying to be this big open world game, but it's also trying to have story. It's trying to actually be kind of, to an extent, story driven for certain points. But the problem is, one of the first major characters you meet, and I don't remember his name, the guy without a leg. Yeah, thank you. Out of date. And this is kind of another issue I have is, you meet him and he's just very dry kind of dialogue. It's kind of confusing at first. You're like, wait, do I know him? And maybe you've kind of lost your memories or something. And then it does a flashback, and the flashbacks have been kind of getting on my nerves because I don't care. But they flash back, and all of a sudden he's a completely different character. He's an Elvis style character, and he's delivering his
younger.
Correct. Yes, thank you. But he's delivering his lines in this made up language with an Elvis accent to it. It's it's fucking not great.
It took me a minute to figure out that I was looking at a flashback of the same character that I had just been talking to.
But then once again, they're trying to get these flashbacks to establish, oh, this is how you learned how to do this when you were younger. Why didn't they just fucking, Horizon, start you as a kid, teach you some tutorials, and then they don't have to show you because I understand, I'm sure that might be a point of the story, is from point A at the beginning to point B, something happens. They don't want to reveal it at the very beginning, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't really like how they're kind of, you play in the current time and then a flashback, and then you play in the current time and then a flashback, and you play in the current time and then a flashback, and it keeps, and like you said, it's jarring because every time it happens, it rips the controls from you for quite a while, and then you kind of almost have to reorient yourself because all of your mechanics have now changed. You don't have the same equipment. You're as a kid, and so it's just kind of been a little annoying.
And all the stuff happening in the flashbacks is pretty dull, I would say. I mean, the thing is, even
Playable
little
flashbacks
things
always suck.
Okay, so Blackheart thing, there's only 3, which I guess I've done all of them now then. But those 3 sound like they feel like a lot more than 3 when you're in the moment.
Everything kind of feels like it takes forever in this game, and a lot of it has to do with the way dialogue is delivered.
Because the tutorial is not an hour; it's 2 hours maybe before you, maybe 2.5 before it even lets you get to just, hey, now go explore the open world.
Right, and honestly, that's where I think the experience starts to look up.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely gets better as soon as you have the freedom to do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's kind of unfortunate is because for those, there might be some people who don't really even know what this game is.
I don't even know what this game is, Nick, and I've played it for 5 hours.
I know. That was its promise. That was its intriguing. That was the intriguing thing to me, is just it looked like such a cool, weird, wacky, out of left field concept.
Don't get me wrong. If at any point in time someone walked in the room and watched me play it, as of where I'm at now, they might think it's cool too, because maybe that's why it demoed so well. Because yes, the world, it does look good. It has a nice art style. Riding around on my mount is fun. Riding up into combat and then getting into combat. Some of that's fun, but the problem is, as soon as you kind of get to the core mechanics of the game, it's kind of confusing, and like I said, I just don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm like 5 hours in, and I'm still trying to kind of figure out how like the crafting system works and how like upgrading.
Okay, I think I finally figured it out last night, and it's real fucking frustrating. So and maybe you can help me if I figured this out wrong, Nick.
I was gonna ask you to inform me.
So this is what I think is going on. Blackheart seems to know a decent amount about this game. Maybe Blackheart can correct us. It seems like when you encounter an item in the world, you'll open a chest and it's like, hey, you just got this item, but you kind of didn't. It seems like you maybe got a blueprint for that item. Like it's like you get an item, but you can't equip it. You have to first craft it into existence with another item before you can actually start using it. And it is not intuitive at all. I don't like the menu system. I think last night is when I finally figured out that's how that works. Because at first I thought, oh, I just got a blueprint and now I know how to craft this. But the problem is you can dismantle that item you just got.
And it doesn't really do. I mean, it's also not really clear like what the item does. So it's like, do I want to craft this? Like, do I want to spend items to make this thing a reality when I don't even really know what it is? Like, it's weird.
Yeah. So the confusing thing for me is like Nick just picked up this iShot lens in chat, and so I believe that is an attachment for a gun. And so that's fine. I guess I kind of get that. You can attach it to a weapon. But what gets more confusing is like I picked up, and I'm sure everyone else did too, because it seems like it's probably a common item, is it's like a long dual saw or something like that. It's a dual wielded, like just very long saw. You can't use it unless so if you go to inventory, it's not going to be in your inventory as a weapon. You have to go to the crafting system, craft a new weapon and select it, and then add something to it, and now you can start using it. To me, that sounds like it's a blueprint, but you can dismantle it before you add something to it and just get the parts from it. And like I said, I just don't understand that system. And someone in chat had mentioned Blackheart that yes, anytime you craft something and now it exists, you can remove a piece from it and add on a different piece. But it's just like, out of all the fucking tutorials they throw at you, that's probably one that they really should and they don't.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of coming off as a thing. Like, and Blackheart's also pointing out that like there's actually not blueprints in the game, but that kind of speaks to just how confusing the whole thing is. Because I don't know what to believe at this point.
I get it. I thought they were, because you open a box and it says, "Hey, you got this item," but you can't use it because what they don't tell you is, like I said, it is the core component to build a weapon. But you have to attach something else to it first. Like I said, I understand it's not a blueprint. It's just that's what I was led to believe because the game doesn't explain it to you.
Well, let's talk about the combat.
How's the
for a second,
combat?
because the combat is
It's a good tone.
Mediocre at best.
It's weird. It's like it's one of these things where it's like I know this is not very well conceived. Like
Can I ask
Yeah, go for it.
I've been seeing a lot of people remark on the combat, specifically saying like, well, it's Batman Arkham style combat, as if that explains like
No. Batman Arkham style has way better combat than this.
Okay.
But also, there's like it's like those like apples and oranges, because I don't even know where the comparison is coming in, because you're not like timing. There is an element of timing in that. Sometimes if you like do a combo, or if you like pull the trigger while you're like jumping in the air, it'll slow down time, and then you can, when you push buttons in what I do like is like when you're gonna do a combo, like if you hit the first two buttons in a combo, it'll kind of slow down time, and it'll show on the screen what the next button is you have to do to complete the combo. So it kind of like prompts you to do like something cool.
Think of any like kind of big fighting game where like physical combat or even gun combat's a big aspect, like Monster Hunter. Think of Monster Hunter. There's lots of combos, right, Brad? Lots of different ways you can perform attacks. I do like that this game, as soon as you have kind of done everything you need to do, to do a combo and you're missing that one button press, it'll pop up. And I kind of actually like that. Because if you do like melee, then a trigger, and then Y or whatever, it'll do a certain move set. And I like that it kind of says like, hey, this move set's available if you want to do it real quick. I like that. I do like that a lot. My problem is often I guess I just haven't learned the moves enough yet, and especially when I'm changing weapons or whatever, and I'm kind of in a different mindset. I'll see it there and then I'll press it, but I guess maybe I didn't press it fast enough and it kind of fades away. I wish it gave you a little, I don't know. I guess give you a little more of a window if it's going to do.
I think the combat it goes out of its way to like try and make it easy for you to do cool stuff in combat, which is good because if it didn't, combat would feel very flat and unsatisfying. And to a degree, it still does because there's not a lot of really good feedback, and apparently they're addressing some of this stuff in a patch that's coming this week, which would be nice. Because like melee combat doesn't feel particularly responsive.
I wanted to bring up
feedback in a patch coming up.
I mean, like, there's a lot.
The hit. I mean, like
maybe
interesting.
I mean, I don't know.
You're talking about the way combat feels, right?
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't feel very punchy.
Someone.
It doesn't feel like there's no weight to any of it.
It feels like there should be like even there should be like more haptic like if there's a little bit of more haptic feedback when you hit someone, I feel like it would help a lot. But like there's really nothing. And the sound effects are very muted, I guess.
What I wanted to bring up in regards to combat still before we move on to something else is the shooting. The lock on. I don't get it. It's infuriating. It almost doesn't exist, but it's there. It's not like a Monster Hunter where you don't really lock on to things. There's a physical reticle that will go to someone, but then sometimes it'll just like move away from them for some reason. Like I really don't get it. And the problem is this game has a big emphasis on melee and ranged at the same time, kind of doing one thing to another. And I'll be like shooting at someone in the middle of shooting them. All of a sudden someone will kind of move over here and my reticle will go towards them, but it won't lock onto them. It'll just kind of start moving towards them.
Whatever.
Yeah. And it gets kind of, but it's way too aggressive. Yeah. It's way too aggressive, but not aggressive at the same time. I don't know how the best way to word that.
It doesn't snap, but it like definitely drags your camera. Sticky,
Which like if you're watching any of the footage that I'm doing, there's been several times where I like do these like cool like jumps in the air and time slows down and I'm like firing off my guns, but I'm like shooting into the sky because it's not actually locked on. So I'm just like, this is just pointless.
Like, and I don't want to say you waste bullets. You have infinite ammo, but the problem is after your gun has like say 10 bullets, and as soon as you're done, you have to reload, and there's like reload animation and stuff like that, so you can't shoot while it's reloading. But yeah, like I honestly, if I had to guesstimate, my accuracy so far in this game is probably hovering around 30%. I waste a lot of fucking bullets hitting nothing.
You suck.
Yeah,
that might actually be generous.
So Blackcard also says apparently if you put points into if you put points into crit, your auto aim gets better. So that's another thing. Every time you level up, you can put points into different stats. You can put points into different abilities. Like there's a lot of deep mechanics in the game. But
I'm hopeful that like after a few more hours of play, like maybe combat will be more interesting so that like this isn't necessarily as disappointing.
Damn it. Dude, I was hoping that this conversation would be like, I've played enough, I've gotten over the hump and I love it, or I've played so much that like I'm fucking over this thing. Not like anything could happen. Which
so like I said,
Tuesday.
I mean, here's the thing. I was excited enough about this and I don't hate this. I feel like a lot of what we're saying.
You watched Smallville last night, or whatever you said. If you were excited
about this, first of all, let me tell you, both of the shows that I said I watched last night are critically acclaimed, brilliant shows. Everybody should be fucking watching.
Wait, are you saying Smallville is not critically acclaimed?
I watched Mayor of Easttown last night. I watched Mayor of Easttown last night, which is.
Look it up. You don't know Meryton Abbey, Brad?
Dude, I've said that show like three weeks in a row. Y'all need to be watching the show if you're not. It's incredible.
Yeah. Hold on. I want to talk about this game more. I want to talk about this game more, Brett. So here's my problem: is I think they made the hand-holdy intro stuff too long, and because of that, even though I'm 5 hours in, I've only got
a bad first impression.
it does leave a bad first impression. Where I'm at in the game right now, first off, I will say it does have good music. I have been enjoying that, especially when you're just exploring. There have been, in what little of this world I have seen, because it basically shows you how big the entire map is. So you can see I have quests that are like 5,000 meters away. I don't really know if they're meters. It says 5,000 meters, but it definitely feels like it's a lot more than a meter away. And like it's like, well, fuck, I'm not going that far. I'm going to something closer because that's like halfway across the world. So it seems like the world is big, which is nice. And I've entered, it got to a new area that's called like the Subnautica station or something like that. I don't know if you've been there, Nick. Yeah, it's called Subnautica. But I just got there, and that seems like a new area that's kind of this kind of like crashed, like some sort of sea vessel. I don't know if it's like a submarine or like a naval ship or something like that. But there's a lot of fucking cool stuff in this world. It just seems like maybe it just takes you a really long time to get to it.
Dude,
And
as soon as I got, as
Mhm.
soon as it kind of like took the shackles off and let me start to explore, I did start to enjoy this game quite a bit more, even if it definitely has some serious rough edges. That hopefully some of that stuff will be fixed in patches or whatnot. It's just it's kind of a bummer because you know I had this pegged for a while as like you know this was a game I was incredibly excited about, and there's so much charm to it, and the concept is so it's unique. It had so much potential. It's almost like, if a studio, if there was a bigger studio with a bigger budget, and this was like had like the backing of like Sony or something, or even Microsoft behind it, you know, this
So-
could have been absolutely incredible. But you can tell it's working with such limitations.
The funny thing is one of the things that, and I didn't pay super close. I didn't follow this game super closely in its development cycle, but I do remember one of the things I saw early on was the whole like creating a character. Dude, every single character looks bad. Any character
What?
you can create, in my opinion, looks
like
10
my
times
character.
worse than the actual the character they designed for the game. The character
Dude,
they designed for the game looks fucking cool. Every character I created when I was fucking around with the character creator looked like doofy.
Dude, I think the character creator is actually one of the maybe
All
one
right.
of the best things that one of the best experiences I've had with the game so far was probably spent in the character creator because
If
which
you
is something
say
I
so.
never do. I never do. I mean, I think all the characters, no matter what you do with the character, it's supposed. I don't think it's supposed to look weird.
Maybe
and
because
bizarre.
it's supposed to be like, yeah, I think that's the kind of maybe part of the story. But another question: so I just saw that you unlock this town in the game, Nick, right? Or this tribe or whatever, and they opened up a bunch of shops. How the fuck do you get money in this game?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
I have no fucking money. It's like they use leaves for money, and it seems like I can sell things I pick up. But the problem is, it seems like, well, first off, it's like, well, this is a new weapon I could potentially want to use, so I don't want to sell it. But it doesn't seem like there's any quest that you get like money as a reward for. And
Who
maybe
knows?
Black Cart and Chat.
Well,
maybe
money
might
doesn't
know.
just grow on trees, Nolan.
Yeah, I know. So the other thing I wanted to bring up
should.
is each of these NPCs, you can go up and talk to them. They all talk in like a Simsy voice, and it seems like 85 to 90% of them have nothing to say. They're just like blah, 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 and then that's it, and you have to leave. But the problem is, a bunch of them will give you like, oh, if you go over here, you might find a secret. They'll like point you to like, so I feel like I have to talk to everyone to find these secrets. But like I said, most of them don't have anything to say. And as soon as I interact with them, it's not like I can be like, oh, this person doesn't have anything to say. I can move on now. I have to wait for them to finish talking, wait for the narrator or the text to pop up and say, they have nothing interesting to say, and then I can leave. And it's like a 5 to 10 second process for every NPC that I feel like I have to talk to, but like I get like most of them have nothing to say.
So why don't we come back to this game, because I do want to spend a significant want to spend a lot of time
I'm
on
gonna
it
play it more.
because I know there are things in this game like traversal things that I haven't really touched yet that are going to be interesting. I've seen things like that. They've been alluded to in a lot of the marketing. I've seen them in demos. Like there's some cool shit out there. And I've seen a few people draw comparisons to, maybe a game that's kind of similar to this and but maybe does it a lot better or a lot smoother is Immortals Phoenix Rising. Like even like the mount, like you can tame mounts out in the world very much like you can in that game. But it's like just like everything that you can draw like a comparison to. It's just like it's like this, but this game doesn't do it as good, and that's kind of a bummer. But like there
The
is some
funny thing
cool
is,
shit in here.
the best way to say this is Breath of the Wild was amazing, and Immortals tried to copy that and did a lot of stuff okay. And it seems like this game tried to copy Immortals, but it seems like each game is kind of like a step down from the other one. Once again,
Maybe.
only played it for 5 hours, so there's still more to play. But
And
that's what
again,
it kind of seems like.
small
So
team.
it's like Genshin Impact, but you don't want to have sex with your characters.
Correct.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yes.
Only one of my characters I wanted to have sex with. I'm on record. Yeah.
I will say that I do like a lot of the art. Like I said, I mentioned the art design earlier, but all of the outfits you can get are all look kind of cool. The weapons look pretty unique. All the ones I've unlocked so far.
If you're into fashion armor, like this game's pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah, you do have like a lot of different, like you have like shoulder pads or potential like craftable stuff that you can add, and everything changes the way your character design looks. Like a top kind of like like jacket kind of part and legs, hats that you can put actual like every piece of armor potentially has, and I've seen I think for the chest pieces up to 4 slots that you can craft additional kind of like pieces onto that increase your stats and stuff. All of that seems kind of cool. So far it just
there's even like little Metroidy elements, like this weapon that I'm carrying right now is this like big like fist that you can like kind of like jet punch with, and like you can actually break through some certain walls that you wouldn't otherwise be able to with that. I don't know how prominently that's featured and if that becomes more of a thing later on in the game, but like I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I want to know more about. So let's play more of it and come back to it on a future show because I think it's necessary. Unfortunately, this is not the game that leaves a great first impression. So I think a lot of people are probably dropping it before maybe they get to some of the better aspects of this game.
So I will say I'm just kind of watching combat in the footage we're looking at now, and I've already seen a couple of ones pop up. But like since you are using that fist, one of the ones that came up was Copper Touch, and that's a pretty cool ability. When you do the combo, your fist turns into like a rocket fist. You like launch it at the enemies, and it flies off and hits them and comes back. So there are actually a lot of cool like mechanics in the game and stuff. We had mentioned the combos earlier.
You can unlock an ability that lets you grow a bouncy mushroom in the ground, and any enemy that touches it starts bouncing uncontrollably in the air. You can jump on it and propel yourself into the air and then do combos from the air. Like, there's cool stuff.
Yeah, there's neat ideas. Maybe the execution is
to unlock fast travel. You have to find signs and pee on them.
Yeah, somebody in chat wanted to make sure we mention that.
Yep. And that's how you unlock fast travel to that
that's
location.
something you'll never do, Nick, so.
That's right. I don't fast travel. Although, if I do start to fast travel, that's a sign. That's the sign that maybe this is not great. So, who knows? Ask me again next week if I've fast traveled yet, and we'll see. But let's talk. Brad, I think you're ready to give another Monster Hunter update, huh? There's another update.
Oh my god!
Another Monster Hunter update for
what are we on? This is 3.0.
3.0, but let's be clear here. 2.0 and 3.0 were the big updates that they had planned kind of at launch. They were like, hey, in a month we're going to do a big update, and a month after that we're going to do another big update, and that's going to be the end of the story. This one is that one. This one has the true final boss and a couple other neat things, including Valstrex, which is
jet fighter.
Yes, he's a jet-powered elder dragon. I believe he was the
like he has an engine.
Kind of. Like it's all very jet-like. He like shoots fire and it sounds like a jet engine, and he flies way up in the sky and then like crashes into you and you die.
All right, I'm into it.
I believe he was the flagship monster for Generations Ultimate, which I never played, but I know this is a very loved monster, and I could see why, because he's super cool. Because he's a jet, he's very fast and he's jet powered, and he takes off into the sky like a comet. He's called like the Crimson Comet or whatever. And this is actually a variant of Valstrex. This is Crimson Glow Valstrex, but it's the only Valstrex I've ever fought. So, but man, he's cool and he's hard, and they're finally releasing some monsters that will kick your ass.
He kind of reminds me of that one from the End of World, the one that was like covered in rocks and then had like the beam attacks.
The final boss of Iceborne, the
Iceborne, yeah.
Shara Ishvalda. Yeah.
That's what
I guess they have a similar like face or whatever, but yeah, this thing's cool. And he has this attack where he'll just like he just takes off into the air. Well, anytime he takes off in the air, it's like a fucking rocket ship, right? Like when he leaves the area to go somewhere else, you know
Does it
how
knock
some
you on your
monsters
ass?
well they'll like and they'll start to like fly away or they'll run away and you can kind of chase after them. But this whole just and he just disappears and you got to move over to the next area. But sometimes when he does it, it'll say ambush on the side, and I came to realize what that meant. But his ultimate attack is like this. He shoots up into the sky and he's flying around like a comet, and then he crashes back down and he pretty much one shots you. I tried various attacks to survive that one shot, even with my lance, and I definitely died. You have to Superman dive to survive it. It's pretty wild. But from what I understand is he can do that from anywhere on the map because I think maybe he's like an invader type or something. But I've heard people talking about like fighting something else with him on the map, and he does his ultimate like dive bomb attack from out of nowhere and kills you. This is what I heard at least. And when you mount him, you can totally fly around like a jet dragon. It's pretty cool. So he yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to
Go
ask
ahead.
a question. So, as
Yeah.
part of either of these updates, well, we talked about 2.0 already. Does 3.0 does it add any like new areas, or is it all just pretty much monsters and story content?
Well, okay. Well, it's funny you say that. There is sort of a new area that is sort of a secret location that you can unlock. So far, there's only a couple of missions you can do there, and it's more like kind of like a boss map or an arena map. Um, but there are like regular missions that are appearing there. It's not like the arena itself. I mean, it's not an arena type. I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually unlocked it yet, but I've heard about it. But no. You're talking about like big, huge new maps. No, that's
Yeah,
something that's
no new
not going to come
biomes.
along. That's not going to come along until the inevitable expansion, the Ultimate Edition, and then they'll add new maps. I mean, that's just sort of kind of how Monster Hunter usually goes.
Right.
So another thing that this added was sort of like the true final boss. You know how when you fought like a Bushi, it was only in the Rampage, and then you fought Narwa, right, which was the final boss of 1.0.
Right.
And you don't actually kill a Bushi. A Bushi just flies away, and Narwa, you don't actually kill. She falls into a fucking hole, right? This is sort of like the conclusion to that storyline, right? Like what's
And
going on with the
have you done
sisters
that
who were
content yet?
possessed. Yes. That was actually the first thing I did because yeah, I mean that was it's like I guess the first hunter rank you do it at hunter rank 50, which I was already hunter rank 50, so I just kind of did it right away, and it's like a pretty cool tough final boss.
Hunter rank
It's
50?
yeah, well
How was it?
Valstrax you have to be hunter rank 100 to fight Valstrax,
I
which
finished like when I finished like 1.0, I was at like Hunter rank 7.
no, that's the thing. Everyone was Hunter rank 7 at the end of the game because it was capped, right? When
when we were
update
calling you a
2.0
quitter, Nick.
yeah. When every time you finish a fight, and depending on the fight, you get more. You get hunter rank, and it fills up a meter, right? But it was capped in the shipping version of the game. Once you uncap it, every time you do like a mission or a rampage or whatever, it fills up a meter, and your hunter rank goes up, right? And these updates are sort of like putting these new monsters, these new elder dragons behind hunter rank levels, right? So it might sound crazy because you've been stuck at 7, but once you actually start playing the game again, it just starts, going up, right? You fight Camelios at 20 and Kushala at 30 and Teastra at 40. It's just that's just sort of how it goes. I was surprised to see how high. I was surprised that they put Valstrax at hunter rank 100 because that does seem really high. I guess they just really didn't want people kind of fucking with that anytime soon. But I mean, he is there. He just fucking dive bomb. I wasn't brave enough to look up in the sky, but you can actually see the comet like flying around the sky, which is cool before he lands. So I was surprised that, but he is fucking hard, and I did lose the fight the first time I fought him. I did beat the final boss the first try, but man, that's a really tough fight as well. And I have yet to beat Apex Zenogre, although I've only fought him once. Apex Zenogre is fucking scary. So the way these updates have been going is that when you first encountered an Apex version of a monster, it was in the rampages. But then with update 2.0, they introduced new Apexes. They introduced Apex Rathalos and Apex Diablos, but those were locked behind rampages, while all the other ones that were rampage only before you could fight outside of rampage. Well, this sort of broke that trend, and they introduced Apex Zenogre, but you can actually fight them outside of a rampage already, including Rathalos and Diablos, which those are like fucking cool, tough fights, especially Zenogre, because Jesus, he's just relentless. But it's cool. It's just unfortunate that they don't have their own sets of armor, because they're really hard, and you feel like you should get something like special for beating them, and you don't really get that, right? You're still, for the most part, only getting their base level parts, which, you know, it, it's unfortunate, because these are like, variants that existed in other games, and in those other Monster Hunter games you did get like armor sets for fighting them, so it's frustrating that they're not here. But I'm a little disappointed that they didn't introduce some version of like a tempered system like they had in World. And I know some people kind of didn't like the tempered system, but one
What is
thing
the
it
tempered
did,
system?
it was basically just harder, artificially harder versions of the monsters for better like rewards, right? By the end of World's Endgame, all you were doing was fighting tempered versions of monsters, because they were the best to drop like decorations, which is you farm decorations a little differently in Monster Hunter World. But the reason I wanted tempered monsters is because one of the cool things, like one of the things I really like admire about Rise, is all of the new monsters they introduced in this game. Like all of the monsters, like Agnesom and Tetranodon and fucking Gos Harag and Somnicant. Like, so a lot of those monsters that they introduced were very well designed, but they're actually some of the easier monsters in the game. And I just wanted to like fight a hard fucking Agnesom, because it's a really well designed monster. Same with Tetranodon. I wanted a hard version of those monsters, but right now I have no reason to fight them. I don't fight them, even though they're cool monsters, just because there's no challenge. And tempered would come along and give me a hard version of that. I mean, they have the apexes, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, there's only been a few so far, and the rewards aren't really there anyways. So, but they are challenging, and it is cool. I probably, once I kind of, fuck around with all this stuff, I'll probably spend another, maybe 10, 20 hours like playing this content before I kind of really put it down and take a break for a while.
What's your hour count at now?
I think it's like 225 or something like that.
Holy
But what was I going to say? Oh, Capcom also kind of announced a roadmap, and while there's none of these big updates coming, they did say like pretty much all summer long there's going to be collaborations with other Capcom games, like other collab events and stuff, and those are always cool and fun, although their first one is just a stories collaboration, which kind of doesn't count. But there's two more coming later in the summer, and I'm kind of excited to see what those are, because you always get cool like fun like armor, like layered armor and stuff. In the past they've done, a lot of stuff. I mean, you saw with World, they did like Horizon and Resident Evil and all kinds of, and Witcher, of course, all kinds of that stuff. But when Monster Hunter was on DS or 3DS, like they did collaborations with Metroid and Zelda, and you could get like fucking their outfits and stuff. It was really fucking cool, and weapons. So I hope we see some more Nintendo stuff.
They should add like the tyrant or like the mutated nemesis as like a monster that you hunt from Resident Evil.
Okay, I mean, there's cooler stuff than that. I mean, sure.
They've
Well,
already done
I mean,
a
look,
Resident Evil event. They did not maximize that to its potential.
No,
I mean, I'm sure they can't all be
y-
winners, I guess.
what I heard some people talking about, which I think is a great fucking idea, is let you hunt like Bowser or like Giga Bowser or something, right? Maybe you don't kill him and carve him, because I'm sure Nintendo's probably not cool with that. But maybe he just runs away like a Bushi or some shit. But that would be dope to
That
fight
would
a
be.
Bowser
Right?
in
You
Monster
don't like
Hunter.
have to get like materials from him either. He could just drop gold coins and then you turn those in
Yeah.
for
Maybe
armor.
oh yeah, there you go.
Oh
That would actually
man,
be
You
somebody
know?
somebody get Capcom
Well,
on the phone.
Or
One
get
last
get
thing.
Square Enix on the phone and get some more Final Fantasy monsters in there.
One last thing I want to say about
like
this
fighting
update,
the
which
weapons
has
would
been,
be
which is,
awesome.
yeah, fighting the weapons would be cool. Actually, there's been Final Fantasy crossover stuff, obviously, in the past with the Behemoth, but
I want to
yeah.
find a
So
Tonberry.
one last thing that they added in this update, which I think is super fucking exciting for me, is so the rampage weapons were like kind of this new thing in this game where you can it's kind of like a make your own weapon sort of thing. Well, they each of these updates keep adding like a new tier, and now they've reached the final tier of rampage weapon, and they're actually really good now. And not just that, but with the rampage weapons, they introduce layered weapons. So if you max out your rampage weapon, you can actually make it look like any other weapon in that weapon, in any other weapon tree. So
That's pretty cool.
it and the final version of the Rampage Gunlance is actually the best Gunlance, which if you know a lot about Gunlances, there's a lot of controversy about shelling levels and stuff, and it's sometimes hard to get a good fucking Gunlance. And the Rampage one is like the best, and it's awesome because now I can just roll around with the giant corn without actually using a wide shelling Gunlance, and and now I have a cool giant piece of corn. So yeah, that's been really cool. And one thing I didn't mention is I'm a greatsword main now. Basically, I've been fighting this thing with the greatsword because it's a great weapon.
This
It's good.
motherfucker.
There
You
he
know what I
is.
found out?
Okay.
They like somebody compiled like all of like the speedrun data, right? For like all the different monsters in the game, and basically ranked all of the weapons in the game for like how fast they are like getting these kills, like on average, right? And at the top was like bow and light bow gun and heavy bow gun, and kind of the stuff you'd expect because they could be real cheesy, right? The three slowest weapons in the game were gun lance, and hammer, and those were my three main weapons. Those are like my babies, right? And with the gun lance being my new baby, so I'm like, fuck this, I'm playing greatsword. This sucks. And I understand why people play greatsword now.
And the rest is history.
It's very
Now
powerful.
you understand. Okay, Brad. Okay.
The question
So,
is,
yeah.
when I do go back to this, can I convince myself to stop using the insect glaive? I love that fucking weapon.
It's fun doing flippies.
Yeah,
I mean, I would
fun
say this is if you're addicted to Insect Glaive, this is the best game to get off of it because like you can do fun flippies with every class.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like the lance, the insect glaive lost a little bit of its identity because everything got a counter and everything got a way to do a flippy air thing. So yeah. But that's it. I just wanted to give y'all an update, and next is Stories 2. I'm definitely gonna be playing that. Hopefully, maybe one or two of y'all will pick up Stories 2 because they showed a new trailer for that, and it is looking cool. Like it's definitely like
every once in a while I pop into
epic.
Discord and I need to talk to Brad. And I'm like, where is Brad? I know he's in here somewhere.
I
He's
mean,
not in
like,
gaming. He's not in the meetings channel. I can't find him. I bet he's in that Monster Hunter channel. Sure enough, every time I click it, there he is talking about Monster Hunter and the Monster Hunter Rise channel in our Discord at discord.gg/4Player.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, Nolan.
Yes.
You want to you've been playing more Subnautica. You want to give us an update on that? How's that going?
Yes. I have a question for Chris Davis first. Why is it when we're in this mode, my camera orientation is correct, but then when we go with the gameplay mode, my camera's flipped?
So every now the problem with the way Discord works with the cameras is that it will every time we stream it moves around like who's going to be in which position based on who starts in what order. I was trying to get mine to where it would mirror mine properly, and I forgot to turn it off for one of the windows. So this week for you, it flips sometimes.
I think it was for me last week too.
And we hope
You made it
everybody
sound like it was going to be some fault of some software, but
no, anyway,
we hope everybody listening to this as a podcast after the fact enjoyed that little video talk.
Well, yeah, if you want to know more, you should watch live at 4pp.tv.
What are they arguing about? Why does any of this matter? Watch us live on Thursdays.
Yes, I've played more Subnautica. I've got quite a bit farther. Last week we had talked about the Snow Fox. I now have one. It's pretty fun to ride around on it. No, Brad, don't worry. The footage I have here, it doesn't have any of that. This is actually I did 2 sections of the footage, and I gave Chris Davis both, and he chose the one that does not have that footage. So you're lucky. This is just me after I went off on an adventure with my Snow Fox, going back to my base.
You told me to use the one that was smaller, so okay.
I know, and I told you that on purpose because I thought about the fact that the Snow Fox one does have me exploring a lot more of some kind of new areas above ground, some facilities and stuff like that.
I'm going to call this episode the behind the scenes show.
Where that works. So yeah, I have unlocked a whole lot more. I have more. My base has grown a bit. I have some more rooms on it. I have more. This is my start of a grow room I'm doing, where I grow plants and stuff for food.
No.
What's up, Brad?
Did you make it pink so it's easier to see?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
You're so.
I'm not gonna make it dark blue. Why am I gonna make my fucking thing dark blue and then it's hard to fucking find it in the goddamn ocean? So yes, I made my ship pink, but also I did change. There's an accessibility option that it allows you to like highlight things, and I have that on mainly just because it makes it easier to pick out things in the environment. One of the frustrating things is similar to the first game, you have the scanner room, and I have an upgrade for it. So when I have the scanner room active and I'm looking for certain things like lead or something, it will pop up on my HUD any mineable outcrops of lead. But the problem is it doesn't give you distances, so I'll just have like 40 things on my HUD of where things could be, and there's no depth perception, there's no distance to them, so I don't know where to go, which can get very frustrating because now all of a sudden my screen's just littered with icons and I just aimlessly start wandering towards one hoping I'm going the right direction. I don't know if there's a mod for that, but would be nice. But anyway,
since last week, have you gone deeper? Last week we talked a lot about the world being kind of more horizontally large than vertically. Has that shifted at all? Or?
I believe I've gone as deep as I can go.
That's what she said.
Yes. Okay. I don't think I'm going to go any deeper. Now, width-wise, I definitely have only explored maybe a third to half. Probably closer to a third of the world, honestly, because I've never really even been kind of like northeast of where my base is, and I've only been a little bit farther southeast. I've been more southwest, and I just recently started venturing northwest of my base.
No one's so meticulous about how he plans his voyages.
Oh, of course. So there's definitely more for me to find that I'm aware of. I accidentally, there is definitely story going on in this game. I don't want to kind of spoil it, but I kind of know the next major thing I need to do to progress. And I think I have to collect 3 different things that are in different places in the world. I don't really necessarily know where they're at. But I found where I need to take those things on accident. I literally had gotten lost in a cave system and spent a good 20 to 30 minutes kind of wandering around aimlessly lost. And I was maybe this is
the best way to find shit. Yeah. Accidentally.
And so I was like, what is this stuff? And I started kind of going in this one random direction, and I found some other, if you've played Subnautica, you find kind of underwater kind of alien technology type, like cave systems or whatever.
Nick,
I found one of those.
You're kind of wrong, though. The best way to find stuff is by accident when you have the inventory space.
Oh, that's true too. It is the worst when you accidentally find something and you have no inventory slots open, and it's like, fuck.
So have you spent more time on lands since you did last week? I mean, last week you were pretty far in the game, but
honestly, a majority of the time I've spent since the last show has been on land.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good. Kind of what we kind of had gotten brought up the other week is the mechanics for moving around on land are a little bit janky compared to underwater. So there's definitely been a few times where obviously it's procedurally generated to an extent. I understand that this is not a randomized game, but I'm sure that when the developers created it, they didn't just map out each piece of this giant world by hand. I'm sure they procedurally generated it in some way. So the problem is, a lot of the times when you're above ground, you're going through kind of tunnely like caves, and you'll see like outcrops of minerals like you would if you were underwater. But the problem is sometimes they're a little bit high or whatever, and since you can kind of jump but not really, so sometimes you just can't get minerals because they're just like in an awkward position, which kind of sucks. Because what?
It just sort of popped into my head
Mhm.
where they go next with Subnautica, but maybe we can wrap this
Yeah, no,
combo.
yeah, we can stop for now. I mean, like,
So-
I have not kind of explored anything that is like game breaking or like anything new. I've just played more Subnautica. I've built more on my base. I've explored more above water. I've unlocked a little more of the story. But yeah,
So I think so. Obviously, like Valheim, like blew up earlier this year, and it got me thinking that, man, the next Subnautica game needs to, still be like this ocean dwelling adventure, but it needs to be like co-op, and it needs to. They need to like kind of, I don't know how they justify this, but kind of make it so the technology is such that you really have to kind of work together as a team to kind of get things done. Like, like you have one person might have like limited information that requires the help of another or whatever, or maybe one dude's back at base doing Nolan-y type stuff, but at the same time is still being like really useful on the mission, kind of like Phasmophobia.
Dude,
Basically,
I was actually about
make
to say,
Subnautica like every other successful video
no,
game.
that'd be very good call outs for like being in the scanner room and being able to tell somebody
Yeah.
where minerals are near them, or
Yeah.
maybe activating some technology from the base, that even as simple as you see me get in my little sea truck and get lowered into the water. Maybe you can't do that by yourself. Maybe someone else has to come and like lower you down or something like that.
Or
Because
like
Dude,
the prawn suit, like having it be like really kind of limiting, but you need maybe somebody else to kind of like tell you what direction to head, or
Yeah.
or
Dude,
maybe
I'm thinking about
maybe somebody back at base like comes down to do like an air resupply in an emergency. I don't know. I
dude,
feel like there's
I'm
a lot
thinking
of
about
potential there.
I'm thinking about like people's like divvying up responsibilities, and it's like someone has to go on like an expedition, like down into the deep dark depths of the world or whatever, and like maybe you get down there and you run
You
out of
lose comms.
you lose No, I mean I was thinking more like you lose battery power or something, and then like
Yeah.
you have to radio back to the base, and then like you have to coordinate with your team to like find a way to rescue your teammates. That kind of shit. Like because like some of my favorite moments of the just of gaming in the last 5 years was like venturing on an expedition in Subnautica and going super deep and trying to squeeze that submarine through these like really tight corridors, like a mile underwater and stuff. Like that shit is incredible. But like imagine realizing, oh, I fucked up and I only have like 20 minutes of oxygen left, and I need somebody to come get me. But
I feel
like
like
having to
specifically
communicate to do
underwater
that.
adventures needs to be like a cool like co-op thing, like it isn't like film and stuff. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I feel like with game franchises, I'm sure the developer is so concerned about like, well, that does seem really cool, but how do we explain away how the technology is like so much more limited when in previous games like one person could kind of do everything? And I don't know, sometimes I feel like developers are too concerned with that and kind of limit themselves from like doing really cool ideas because of lore. But man, it would be cool if they could pull something like that off.
I'm gonna be honest. I'd be kind of surprised if they went and just did another Subnautica game immediately, because at this point they've been doing
I don't think
Subnautica
so.
for a while, for a long
I don't
while.
think it's going to be just another one of these. If I've heard any criticism about Below Zero, is that it does feel kind of just like more Subnautica, like 1.5 or whatever, which is obviously not a bad thing. But I think I'm just saying, like, some people are like, "Well, take it to space or the jungle," or I don't know, whatever the fuck, right? But I think that you could still do a lot in the ocean depths because it's just very exciting.
Yep, it absolutely is. So, uh, I'm still indecisive because should I play this on PC? Does anybody have any experience? Well, Brad, I don't know if
The
you've played any
mods,
more of
Nick,
this.
the mods. You're a PC gamer now.
Yeah, but now I feel like my
How would you
graphics
like
card, like
only
who
being able to
knows?
equip 5 things at a time instead of,
Does suck.
8 or whatever Nolan has?
I think I have up to
You
10.
might be right. You might be right. That may have been
5
that.
things sucks. Also, small lockers suck. And fuck, god damn it, Nolan, that's bullshit.
All right. Well,
making my life just a little bit easier.
You may have just convinced me. Is there anything else you want to say about Subnautica, or
No, I'm good for now. I'm going to continue playing it. So
it looks dope as hell.
One thing I've unlocked since our last. Sorry, I forgot to bring up that I kind of didn't bring up before. I don't think is I've unlocked new suits. Like one that does better with cold weather, because you're obviously going out into the cold a lot, and then one that does better with like depth. So I think it gives you almost to an extent more health kind of type of deal. Like I think maybe your oxygen might last a little bit longer, and if you take damage from stuff, which there's definitely seems to be a lot more damagey type stuff in this game compared to the previous one. You take maybe a little bit less, but yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, with that said, let's take a break. When we come back, we have let's talk a little bit about some of that big news stuff that's been happening this week. Let's talk about Dying Light, Horizon. I also completely forgot about that rumored Final Fantasy game from Team Ninja, which could be worth mentioning. Yeah, so a lot of stuff is happening out there in the world. So if you're listening at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this quick break. I'm going to take your silence as a yes. Welcome back to the show. Like I said at the end of the first segment, we have quite a bit of news to cover. We usually like to kind of pull news topics from community members during the question segment, which we still do, but there's a lot of stuff that's been kind of happening today. Like I said earlier, this has just been kind of a huge, unexpected, huge news day. News week, actually, I guess. And why don't we start real quick with the thing that happened a couple of days ago, which was actually a potential E3 leak. It sounds like Square Enix's primary, or like the main thing kind of anchoring their presentation at E3 is going to be a new Final Fantasy game from Team Ninja.
What?
Brad?
Team Ninja? The creators of Ninja Gaiden and Neo?
That's the one.
But specifically that this is going to be another Souls like the Neo games.
So it's Neo with Final Fantasy monsters
and is it going to be good Final Fantasy or bad Final Fantasy?
Well, here's the thing.
It's going to be very classic.
Guys, everybody's.
I'm answering this question.
No, people are talking while I'm trying to ask a question. You can't talk over me, guys, when I'm asking questions.
Go ahead and answer the question, Brad.
From what I understand, it's going to be very Final Fantasy in like a traditional sense, that it's like styled after like the first Final Fantasy, so like really classic Final Fantasy.
It's not even just modeled after the first Final Fantasy. Like the rumor is that it literally takes place in the world of the first Final Fantasy game. I am not historied enough in Final Fantasy to really know what that means or what kind of weight that carries.
So
other than
Final Fantasy,
right? I mean, the history obviously the significance obviously being that that's the game that kind of established a lot of the tropes that carried on throughout the rest of the series. So you're going to see a lot of really classic Final Fantasy creatures and stuff.
I can't wait to see the Tonberry get an epic boss introduction.
Dude, this is just a really cool idea, I think, from the ground. Like, it seems like a really interesting pairing of Team Ninja, specifically the team working on Neo, who found a lot of success with something like Neo, and rolling that into something that may be a little bit more accessible, like Final Fantasy. This is going to obviously reach a much bigger audience because
what is Gigamir saying in chat though? He says the Dissidia NT people, which I believe Dissidia NT was worked on by Tecmo to some extent. Was that Team Ninja?
Team Ninja also worked on that game, if I remember correctly.
Okay, but is it not the Neo team that's working?
No, it's the
this?
Neo team. It's the Neo team.
Okay.
It's the Neo team working on this, but that team also assisted with the development of Dissidia, that Dissidia game, Dissidia NT.
To Chris Davis's comment, he talked about Tomberries. Tomberries weren't in the original Final Fantasy. I'm not gonna lie. Original Final Fantasy games did not have the best monsters that you were fighting. You were kind of fighting, I don't want to say boring monsters, but they definitely got a lot more innovative over time.
I mean, let's be real for a second.
Can you imagine a Final Fantasy game, any Final Fantasy game whatsoever, without a Tomberry at this point?
Dude. Oh, me and my buddies did a Tonberry themed dungeon in 14 last night, and it was terrifying. It was so good.
I mean,
there's all these giant Tonberries that just like chase you down the hallways, and you can't kill them. And if they catch you, you die immediately.
Wait, do they like they run?
No, like they move slowly, but you have to like fight people in the hallways that like slow you down. So it's like they're always there, just coming, just coming.
They're always there.
Except it's Tomberries.
Yeah,
they're always just
up,
there,
man.
just coming.
It's
but just let's be real for a second. If we're talking about the original Final Fantasy, like, that was on like what was that?
NES.
That was
NES. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you're talking about it taking place in that same world, but how much is actually going to translate other than to say,
it's the loose stylings of Final. It's. The black mages are going to look like black mages, and the white mages are going to look like white mages. It's
Red Mage. Go with Red Mage, Brad. Red Mage.
It's Final Fantasy in
fighter's gonna have chucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's Final Fantasy in the classic sense. I mean, I think that's what that's basically translating to. We don't want to get into any
monks and warriors and stuff like that.
It has dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I do think this is actually just a really cool pairing, though, because we're fans of Neo here. A lot of us are, or just fans of Souls-like in general. So like, and I think a lot of us have been kind of unsatisfied with some of the more recent Final Fantasy games, like core Final Fantasy games. So like, maybe this will be a really nice. Like, as far as spin-offs go, like, this is kind of a dream spin-off, I think, for me, because I love that style of game. I love what Team Ninja did with Neo, and I love Final Fantasy, especially more traditional Final Fantasy stylings. So, like, this could be really neat. It could be really nice juxtaposition.
For sure. At the very least, we'll probably have good fucking combat. And let me tell you, I was playing Neo 2 around the same time as when I started playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it made me a little less impressed with that combat system. So let's get some good quality combat and action combat into a Final Fantasy universe, and man, I do think there's going to be some concessions made, because I don't think they're going to intentionally make it as challenging or as I don't think they want it to be. Now
as
you're just assuming. No. Stop it.
I mean, I don't think I'm assuming. I mean, it's Final Fantasy. They want to reach as big an audience as possible because it's Final Fantasy, and that's probably part of the agreement. Is like, it's got to be to some extent accessible. I feel like, and I think Neo is a fairly not inaccessible. Not the best. Like, it's intimidating. It's an intimidating game, and a lot of people feel the same way about Souls games. So like, it kind of makes me wonder how
Nick beat the non-easy type version of Final Fantasy IV, since he thinks the Final Fantasy games are a joke.
That's exactly what I said. Anyways, moving on. It's looking like that story has been corroborated by several sources inside the industry, so it's looking like that's like 99% accurate, and that is supposedly kind of like the main like linchpin of Square Enix's presentation at E3. So it makes me excited to see what else they're going to announce. But like, if that's kind of like their last hurrah, it must mean it's something significant, right?
You sprinkle a little bit of cup noodles and some Coleman camping gear, and you got yourself a Final Fantasy game going.
Yeah, man.
Oh God! All right. Other news. Today was the long teased presentation for Dying Light 2, which now has a new title, Dying Light 2 Stay Human. Kind of strange.
Like staying human, or there's another way they could have worded that would have been better. Like,
I also just feel like if you're gonna do a subtitle, it doesn't need the number. If it has the number, I just feel like just do the number, just keep it clean. Either do a number or drop the number and then give us a subtitle. You know what I mean?
Dying Light.
I mean, subtitles are common after a number too. I mean, Horizon's doing it, right?
Dying Light 2 Human.
Dying Light Become Human?
Plan.
Dying Light 2 T-O-O
Dying Light
Human.
2.
Well,
I just don't like how demanding the subtitle is.
Yeah. So we finally got our first kind of glimpse at gameplay of this game. For I will say this, as far as, I mean, it wasn't like a straight up like demo where they played through it, and which is kind of what you want to see in a thing like this. It
was one of those like long talky trailers.
Long talky trailers where they're kind of jumping around a lot, but it did give it showed a lot of stuff, and honestly, it showed a lot of stuff that. The last time we saw this game was, again, E3 2019. It's been quiet since then. Like, we haven't seen any demos of it. This showed a lot of the thing, because there was concern for a while. Obviously, it's had a little bit of trouble in development cycle, and there's been some controversy, and there's been concern like, oh no, they're going to cancel it, or oh no, it's not coming together. And a lot of, like, at least on my end, I was kind of like, is some of the stuff that I saw at E3 that I was like super hyped about even going to make it into this game? I'm not even sure. But all signs seem to indicate that pretty much all the features that they first talked about are still present in the game. All the verticality, the different zones, and being able to like side with factions that kind of steer the direction of the city and change the DNA of the city.
But like only two factions, and the rest are like all enemies.
I think he said there was 3 factions.
Well, the other faction is like bandits and mercenaries and shit that you had to fight.
Sure. Sorry,
it sounds like Brett? If this game is going to be like a mess, it's probably going to be a mess in terms of the narrative, right? Because wasn't it like the writers that they kept, getting rid of and losing, right? So if that's the case,
they lost. What was his name?
Chris Avallone, right? And it's not just Chris Avallone. They've had a lot of like management issues, but I think a lot of it has been surrounding the writing. So like if the story or the narrative or whatever is a disaster, I can live with that because it wasn't great in the first fucking game, right?
I mean, it wasn't deep. I mean, I found the story in that first game to be pretty shallow, but also just kind of fun, and like to me it felt like watching like a Fast and the like watching a Fast and the Furious movie. It's like this is all dumb, but I'm enjoying it.
The story wasn't the reason you played Dying Light. It was there and it was okay, but that was not the driving factor of that game.
Well, let's bring up that old crispy argument because I feel like it's super relevant to this conversation. Because one thing I did see a lot in this footage is a lot of humans. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of interacting with those people with fists and weapons and stuff.
I mean, you did that in the first game too.
Yeah,
I know, but like the way they talk about it makes it sound like there's going to be a lot more, and that stuff really wasn't all that great in the first game. It was definitely at its best when it was a zombie game. I feel like. So are we still concerned maybe that?
Well,
the larger emphasis on interacting with humans might kind of hurt the experience a little bit?
I'm not really convinced of that yet because I do really like the concept of like the human, like in the story, like this is kind of like the last city on Earth, right? Like so humanity is kind of like flocked to this city and they've built it up, but at the same time they kind of share the city with the quote unquote zombies or monsters, or whatever the fuck you want to call them.
Yeah.
Where like a lot of the monsters kind of like exist on like the surface level, and humans have kind of built higher and higher into the sky, like in skyscrapers. That's where a lot of the verticality comes from. So the idea of like this space being shared between humans and monsters, if that interplay between humans and monsters outside of like the player interacting with humans or interacting with monsters kind of plays into it. Like if they're interacting with each other as much as you are interacting with either of them, like that could be really cool. And I like the idea of like monsters coming out at night. I just feel like
you're also going to be fighting a lot of humans.
Sure. But like, here's the thing: like the fun of Dying Light was like the roll it like the way they rolled like parkour into the melee combat and stuff. And like honestly, if I don't care if I'm drop kicking a zombie or a fucking human off of a building. Like if it's kind of the same reaction either way, I don't really care. So like. I mean, but there's going to be a different dynamic, obviously, because humans are going to have weapons and defend themselves. What?
You sound like a psychopath, Nick.
Sure.
Those are human lives you're kicking off of buildings.
Well, we're talking about a game that's built around combat, and like the fun of the game is going to be largely dependent on how much you enjoy the combat. So you're right. If fighting humans is not as fun as fighting monsters, then
it's not just the fighting,
humans.
Right? It's running from zombies, rooftop to rooftop. Like you didn't really do that with the humans in the first game, right? It was just sort of these little awkward hand to hand.
But like one thing that still showed that was in that demo we saw at E3, and what's still showing up in the footage we saw today is very much this like, first of all, this city looks like a massive playground. Like some of the shit, like jumping off of rooftops onto like balconies and rolling into and like running through apartments, and then like just it looks so fun. And if other human enemies in this game can also kind of do the things that you're doing. That could end up creating some really cool scenarios themselves. Like, so imagine if like you're running on rooftops and humans can follow you and jump across, between buildings just the way you can. Like, it could create some really dynamic, some really interesting combat scenarios.
Yeah, maybe.
But they talk a lot about in the game that like monsters stay mostly and this is the way it was in the first game too, but monsters stay indoors largely during the day and they come out at night. So like they talked about like when they leave their nests, which are largely in lower parts of the city at night, like you can get huge benefits by like venturing into their nests when they're all out in the city. And like,
that's a good point.
My favorite part of Dying Light 1 was going out at night and braving the nighttime because it was so terrifying.
That was a thing that, and yes, it was, and that was, I don't know how many hours I played of Dying Light, but a majority of the, at least the first third to half of that game, I just never went out at nighttime because I was literally too afraid to go out at nighttime, and I waited. I would just rush back to the base. And sleep until daytime. And it wasn't until I started becoming a little more confident, having better weapons and better abilities, that I started actually venturing out at nighttime. So I could see that being, the pro and con of venturing into like a nest at nighttime, because yes, most likely there are less zombies because they are outside exploring. But obviously you're still going to encounter some. So
and they said there's some huge rewards in those nests specifically. So it's kind of like, I'm definitely going to take once you build up that confidence, that's going to be great. And you know what? Even if this game has some jank, of which I'm sure it's going to have, maybe the story will end up being a little bit of a mess. I'm not sure, but dude, so much of the fun of this game, I think, or the success of this game is going to stem from that verticality, because just watching the traversal in this gameplay was just, man, I'm so fucking hype.
I have 3 things about this game so far that I'm not feeling.
All right. Okay, hit us with 3.
First off, they have confirmed that there is no grappling hook, and that was the best goddamn thing about the original game.
What?
Like, there's no grappling hook.
But like, that may be true. That may be true, but like also, we don't know everything that's going to be in the game, so there might be something that's.
Oh yeah, they might have a jetpack.
Damn it! I was going to say jetpack. You stole my joke.
That's the only thing that could be better, right?
No, crispy.
The jetpack's in Far Cry 6.
No, hold on.
Is it really?
Moon shoes.
Moon shoes. Like you just bounce really high?
Yes.
Oh, fuck you zombies, boing.
No. In the footage, the dude is doing parkour, and he does like a super jump.
No. There's actually There's the humans in the city have actually laid out like basically like trampolines and stuff to actually help people who are parkouring through the city. So you can jump on the trampolines and stuff. Dude, that shit's cool. Like I just can't wait to see all the.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see all the different things in there.
Yeah, my second thing is that they're pitching this as like
written all.
Oh my god, guys, you're all killing me.
Sorry.
Keep going, Chris Davis.
My second concern about this game is that they're pitching it as like a 50+ hour experience. And in doing so, they're saying that you're not even going to see like half of what the game offers. And like,
okay, but like,
I don't want to play that
you're...
long a game.
Okay, well,
sure.
that's weird for someone who played 800 hours of The Division. What?
Oh, never gonna.
Well,
let
no.
him
What I'm saying
that.
is that I don't want to have to, in order to get like what they're pitching, what they've been pitching for a long time is that the decisions that you make will unlock sections of the city. Like that flooded section, that was a decision that you made that would not appear otherwise, and you have to do a whole new playthrough in order to access that content. And if it's 50 hours worth of stuff in a base playthrough with a single set of decisions, like playing the opposite, that's a lot of stuff.
No, but you're pretend. Maybe this is just the way you are. I don't know, but like, I think it's meant to encourage replayability. Two, like if you don't want to play it a second time, just let your experience be like, if your decisions really are going to shape the world, just be happy. Just like say, okay, when I played the game, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. I didn't see the other stuff, but like that's okay. That
Nick,
was not.
You have to.
That wasn't my experience.
You have to.
You're talking to the guy who played Dishonored 2 with no powers on his first playthrough.
That was a choice. You know what?
I
know. So you're making,
but it's because you intended to play it again, right?
I also played that game through 4 times. But my third thing is with the subtitle and what they're implying with "Stay Human." It's obvious that your character's infected again, but much like the first game, it seems like that's an entirely a narrative choice that they're going with, and that it's not an actual mechanic thing. Like you don't have to worry about taking care of your infection and trying to stave it off.
How do you know that?
Because if you watch the footage towards the end, they show off like a cinematic to where, oh, you're turning, get away from me, and you start turning. Like it seems like it's an actual.
But we don't know.
Wait, isn't that the way it was in the first game?
Yeah, but I was hoping to be like an actual mechanic this time around. That's more interesting.
Well, Chris Davis, we don't know. Yeah. Like, they're planning like 3 more of these events where they're going to talk about shit that we haven't seen yet. So that could very well be. I mean, it could be a situation where, depending on decisions you make in the story, your character might be infected or might not be infected. And I think that in and of itself is really cool. And if a decision you make results in your character being infected, and that opens up an entire mechanic or system that isn't available otherwise, that's really fucking cool.
Well, that mechanic.
I don't know. All was this cutscene doesn't really imply anything.
Getting a little ahead of ourselves, but okay.
I'm just saying
you could say.
Yeah, they're not going to have a subtitle called "Stay Human" if that wasn't like part of the narrative.
Well, they did talk about why they're calling it "Stay Human,"
it's going to be part of the narrative.
They talked about why they're calling it "Stay Human," and it makes sense to me. But and it may not have anything to do with mechanically, but whatever. We'll probably find out more about that down the road. The point is, we got our first taste of gameplay.
What if the turning and not turning into a zombie is entirely like contained within the subtitle of the game? Never mind.
Hey, the
Thank
point
you, Brad.
we got our first look at gameplay for the first time in a while, and I think this game still looks incredible. We got a release date. It says December 7th. I'm a little worried because that is late enough in the year that I could easily see it slipping.
That's
and like,
shoot, who needs a grappling?
Yeah, I could definitely see this being a game that like, either it comes out super late and that's like the last thing you play constantly, or you already have so much else on your plate that you maybe avoid it or whatever.
This is a game though I will clear my calendar for because this looks pretty damn cool. I just, like Brad said, I hope it comes together. I hope it's, because I think that first game is surprisingly tight. Like, it's a great experience. It might be a little janky at times, but like it kind of, it was just super fun and had way more polish than I was expecting.
One of the best parts of the first game was the co-op.
Yeah, and it's confirmed 4-player co-op in this. Guys,
they
4-player fucking co-op.
They really nailed co-op in a story-driven game. I think in Dying Light, and I'm very excited for the potential to play this one also in co-op.
Abso-fucking-lutely. All right.
It's very nice and very realistic in a zombie environment to have someone watching your back. In a zombie world, it's pretty silly to go out by yourself.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm very, very, very excited to see what this game, what comes of this game. But we still got a little time, a little bit of a wait for this one. And lastly, well, not really lastly. There's still a couple other small things that happened. But Horizon Forbidden West, we got our first look at that today. I'm gonna admit I haven't watched the entire demo because I've been a bit busy this afternoon. I've seen about half of it. Calm
A bit
yourself.
busy.
I saw some of the cool shit in it. I can talk about it. Give me a break.
Sure.
Brad, I want you to tell me, how big was your boner when she jumped into the water and was swimming underwater?
Look, motherfucker. First of all, plenty of games go underwater.
But this looked pretty good.
Yeah, but a lot of these Sony prestige games have been going underwater for a while now. It doesn't mean it's amazing underwater, but this looked pretty good, I guess. I mean, there's underwater monsters. Hopefully you're going to be able to like fight them underwater, like Monster Hunter 3rd Gen represent. But one thing I didn't like is that she has the ability to like infinite breathe underwater. And I feel like, that's removing some of the stakes of being underwater. You want the fear of drowning, right? That's part of what makes underwater stuff exciting.
I love the fear of drowning personally.
Well, it's the stakes. It makes it
the stakes. It's what makes Subnautica thrilling and fun is the fact that while you're exploring, all of a sudden, oh shit, I didn't realize I had barely enough time to get to the surface.
I agree. Your mortality hanging in the balance. The water crushing in around you. Unable to breathe, but feeling like you want to.
Gotta love that.
Maybe I can just sneak a little bit of air.
Again, this is a situation where we don't have a full picture of this yet. One, they could have just given you infinite swim.
No. Like, he says at the end of the demo that you haven't watched all of that you have a rebreather mask that lets you stay underwater as long as you want to.
Yeah.
Nick
looks like a fucking idiot right now.
Well, fuck me too. Okay. So I see a lot of people in our. First of all, Brad, you're right. This game actually does look incredible.
It looks beautiful.
It's a beautiful fucking game. But I see a lot of people in our chat like it's anime now, and I'm assuming this is the moment where she pulls out the spear and does that weird Dragon Ball Z looking attack or whatever on that dude.
No, it's just a super.
I don't know.
It's anime. It's just an ult or whatever.
Everybody in our community is like telling me this game is anime now. And I'm assuming it was the attack with the spear that made people say that.
Hold on, yeah. Can we? I've seen people in chat mentioning that as well. Can we get elaboration on the anime? Because I don't know what they're talking about. I watched this whole trailer, and I guess get the anime reference.
At one point in particular, she pulls out her spear to do an attack on a human
she
enemy
attaches something to it or whatever.
Well, the camera does,
but like the camera's very special movie,
Gotcha.
It looked like a special attack and like I don't know, It just looked
calling out the attack as she does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, it actually just highlights how Gorilla has this weird thing where like characters' eyes are just never seem like they're looking at the thing they're supposed to be looking at, and it's weird that she's when she's doing this, she's not looking at the enemy, she's looking down at her bow. But then when you really look at, like, not even really looking at the bow either, and it's like I noticed that when she's like shooting arrows too. It's just it's weird, but
I've never noticed that. It seems like a weird thing.
Well, maybe it's something you don't want to notice because then you'll start noticing it too much. It's just
I don't want
for a
make
game
this a
so
thing that I
beautiful.
can't unsee.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's talk about something. And this is not a I feel bad about it, but I never finished Horizon Zero Dawn. It just came out at a weird time. Like I said, it was when I was moving into this house and just other things happened and I just never finished it. It has always been on my to-do list. When they released the PS5 and all like the upgrades or whatever, and that big slew of free games, this was one of them. And I downloaded it. So it's downloaded on my PS5 right now with all the intentions I have of playing it. I do want to play the first game before this one comes out because I did enjoy what I did play of the first one. But it's also just one of those things where Obviously, the first one's not exactly a short game.
No, it's not. It's like a 50-hour open world RPG.
Minimum,
there's a
and
decent
that's
amount
before you
to
do the
it.
expansion.
Exactly, and I
Which is
do
also worth
enjoy.
doing.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't play this game for an hour. I probably played it for maybe 20 hours. I played a decent amount of it. And I do remember doing a lot of the open world stuff, wanting to investigate things, finding a little area and talking to all the people and trying to, I have to like take down this type of animal, blah, 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 whatever. I don't remember all the details because it's been a while, but I do remember enjoying it. What, Nick?
Robot animal.
Yes, yeah, thank you, the robot. Which was also kind of a weird thing at the beginning of this when she sees the dude riding like the raptor thing and she's like, he's riding one? But it's like, you fucking did that all the time in the first game. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's
Why
weird.
was that so
shocking?
I don't know.
She's
Guys.
the only one that's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
I swear to God,
she was the Beastmaster.
I swear to God, y'all latch onto some of the weirdest shit.
No, but he brings up a good point because later on she like gets on one of these creatures and it makes it seem like that's a big deal as well, which is strange to me because you did that before.
First of all, there could be story explanation for all of this, but we have no context.
Gotcha.
Second of all,
I'm just pointing out that it seems strange.
I mean, the demo is meant to highlight her being able to
That's fine.
ride on them, which in that sense,
here's the real question.
It's a big deal.
Do you get to ride the mastodon? That's the real question.
I hope so. You could pretty much. Well, you could.
You could climb.
Well, I rode a Valstrax today, so I'm not too impressed.
I saw a lot of people in our community talking about this and saying they were kind of disappointed by how linear this looks. But to me, honestly, this just looks like a really well curated demo. At the same time, it still looks like it's going to be. I mean, it's most certainly going to be a fully fledged open world game, just like that first game was.
Oh, definitely.
So I don't think people should be really concerned about that.
Yeah, of course. I don't think there's any legit concern there.
But here's my concern. Here's my concern. So you can go, Nick, if you want to.
I was just gonna say there's some cool gadgets and moves that she does in this game that I think this demo was really meant to highlight more than anything else. Just
how
like
can you
maneuverability.
How can you use electricity to reduce yourself falling in the air? I don't get it.
This is Nolan. You gotta have to just gonna have to push it down. It's
obviously hard light barriers and magical science shit.
Why does it have to be a magical shield? Why couldn't it just be like a real glider thing that she just whips out?
How is she taking out entire robots with a bow and arrow? Like giant fucking robots. It doesn't.
Oh, she hits their weak point for massive damage.
Yes.
Hey man, I think that energy umbrella that she used to kind of float was dope. I don't need to know the science of it.
When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be like a glider, and I was like, "Yes, Breath of the Wild. Everything should be Breath of the Wild," because gliding in an open world game is very exciting, right?
There's the anime.
It was one of those things.
Anime.
It was one of those things I really wanted Ghost of Tsushima to have, right? But it didn't. But then when she does it a couple more times, and you realize it's kind of just like someone described it like a parachute, like a way to kind of
control
land,
your descent
carefully. Was there fall damage in the first game? Don't recall.
I mean, I think there was. If you fall from a high enough spot, you'll definitely take damage. Or die.
Can I interrupt our conversation real quick? Because there's two aspects I forgot to bring up about Biomutant. First off, I do like that Biomutant has no fall damage. It has no fall damage, which is amazing because you could be up on a 500-foot cliff and just jump off and you land fine. I do like that about a big open world game. My other thing I forgot to bring up, because we brought it up when we were talking about Dying Light, which reminded me, and I kind of forgot because our conversation went on for a long time about choosing factions. Biomutant literally has the most blatant black and white good and evil path in the game system mechanic of like you'll encounter someone and the options are I'll help you or I don't want to help you, and if you help them you get light points, and if you don't help them you get dark points, and it is like the most blatant obvious black and white. I want to be bad, I want to be good.
It is not. It is another example of
it is not subtle in the slightest.
Like it's like Infamous or something.
It's even more than like at the beginning, like one of the first options it gives you is like, do I want to take the light path or the dark path? It literally asks you that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, that was just another thing I thought. I don't know why they made it so like cut and dry, black and white. Anyway,
Crispy's like reaction to that sudden shift was quite quite good. Sorry, where were we?
This
Horizon
game is extraordinarily beautiful, and it's one of those games that comes out and you're like, oh wow, this is what the PS5 can do, huh? We haven't had any real PS5 games yet, quote unquote.
Sure we have.
But I'll say this one thing about visually that I didn't like is I feel like the robot designs in this are a little busy compared to that first game. I feel like they had a
Are we
very
having a little bit of a
distinct-
Transformers impact? The Transformers.
you had to look a little Transformers,
Dude, the ones
like
in the
Michael Bay
first game looked
Transformers.
like Transformers.
Well, but
They always
had,
looked busy
Yeah.
and weird.
but
I'm gonna
but
be honest. I think these look pretty
they took
dope.
it a little too far. I think.
I
don't
think
know.
the thing
I understand that
about
like these bad guys.
I think the thing about it is that it's a little harder this time around to just on a glance see weak points and spots you can manipulate and things like that. Like watching this combat footage, like you kind of wonder why she's shooting at certain spots.
Well, no. But here's the thing about that, because like at first glance you may not be able to tell, okay, what's the weak point, but when she fires like an area of effect arrow and it explodes, you can see the weak spots kind of light up for a second, and that instantly tells you, okay, this is what I should be aiming for.
Siemens on them like that.
But they don't stay. But they don't stay illuminated. So which I like, because I don't like being constantly told where I need to be aiming and how I need to be taking them down.
I'm just saying that, like in the first game, it seemed compared to this easier to see that without use of that tool.
Sure, I'm not complaining about the functionality though. I'm just talking about visually a little less appealing to me. One of the things, I mean, I barely played the first Horizon, but I always wanted to, because I was like, man, robot dinosaurs, this shit's cool.
Y'all should remedy
now it's
that.
like Michael Bay robot dinosaurs, and I'm like, huh.
This game is so that first game is so fucking good, and I can't believe y'all didn't play it,
dude. I said, it's already downloaded on my
everyone
PS5.
did play it.
I played it.
I played it all the way through, plus the expansion.
I think I was the only one here who didn't play it.
Okay, I was mostly referring to Brad. Okay. Brad, I can't believe you didn't play this. It's dope as shit. It's got some incredible combat.
And I will say that Prince and Pokot bring up the reason both Brad and I put it down is because right afterwards, when Breath of the Wild came out, and both of us went balls deep in that game, and so that's probably why this one got left behind.
The Switch came out,
yeah.
Right, but you know what? It's cool. We didn't get a release date for this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if by E3 we know what the release date is. Does anybody think this is this year?
No,
I just want to know.
No,
I mean, what is this year? Come on.
All right,
if
I'm going to take that hot
this year,
dog
we
bet.
would have gotten a release date.
Dude, this is like the 1 year of all years that developers feel like, oh, we don't really, like if we don't get it out this year, people will understand, I guess.
Yeah,
to a limited amount.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you're right.
They would have said 2021.
Yeah,
even if they didn't have a date, they would have reminded us that this was originally going to be 2021.
All right. Well, if we don't get
Q1 2022 is what I think is going to come out.
All right. Well, it was a January or February release last time, so maybe we'll do that again. All right.
Although, you know what, the new God of War is supposed to come out this year, right?
That's
that's what they said. 2021.
Well, we might get our first. Well, no, Sony's not going to be at E3. So, but Sony will do their own.
There is no E3.
Sony will do their own thing.
Only Duel.
All right. So why don't we? I mean, do we have anything we want to say about the Dragon Quest or Sonic stuff?
I know
there's
you
a shit
don't
ton
care
of both
about
coming.
Dragon Quest, Nick, but I will say that some people were very excited. One, they announced Dragon Quest 12, which is exciting, cool. It was only a teaser, but it was kind of edgy.
Basically a logo, right?
They're pitching it as like Dragon Quest for adults.
Well,
whatever the hell that means.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I've played Dragon Quest before.
One of the other things where people are excited about is that they're doing a remake of Dragon Quest 3, which was an old. I mean, it was an NES Dragon Quest, but it is a very loved Dragon Quest. I think that's when that series really started to blow up in Japan, and it looks like Octopath Traveler. You know, they're kind of going with that look, so
That
people are
2D
sort of
HD
stoked
thing,
about that. 2D HD, like that's what they like to call it, which is silly. But yeah, I
They're
don't know.
also
People are excited about
remaking.
that, and there's some other projects.
They're making Dragon Quest X offline, like the one that was an MMO. They're making a single player version of it.
Some people like that MMO a lot, like Dragon Quest. It just never came out over here, and it was a Wii game, right? So, I think they ported it, but it never came out over
Right.
here, and you know that's kind of cool. I guess I'm just not the biggest Dragon Quest fan, but I do want to bring it up because it's still a very big franchise for Square Enix, and there are definitely Dragon Quest diehards out there, and I know some of us played in at least a bunch of Dragon Quest 11. That was pretty cool. So yeah. Sonic, I can't really speak on Sonic. I know all they did for that is show a logo for the new Sonic, but I think I heard something about it being like open world or some shit. I
Oh
don't know.
God. Oh
And
God.
they're remastering Colors, which I think is one of the few 3D Sonics people like.
They're remastering
kind of.
and adding like episodic DLC for it. Like
Just what we all wanted.
Weird. They're also doing like a compilation port of 1, 2, 3 and CD, but that's not out until like next year for some reason.
Well, if you're a Sonic fan or a Dragon Quest fan, there's a lot of reason to be excited right now. It seems like you're going to get a fuck ton of those games.
Yeah, just lump them together, and the ones the the ones you don't care about, Nick, just Sonic fans, Dragon Quest fans, they're the same.
You caught me.
The only Dragon Quest game that wasn't announced that probably should have been was like Builders 3.
That's what I was hoping they would announce.
I mean, that's a little early, I guess, but yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, that would have been my most hyped out of all of their announcements.
Well, Brad, I wasn't trying to lump them. I was just trying to be a good host so I could gradually move us forward in this podcast so we can get to the next segment, which is our community questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch, of which we have many. While no one's pulling that up, I want to remind everybody. We got a lot of submissions this last week, which is great. If you have new questions or if there's news topics that are happening in real time that you want to make sure you want to make sure we talk about on the show, make sure you leave us a question or leave us a news topic. If you're a Patreon supporter or a Twitch subscriber, you can find the link pinned in our supporters channel and Discord. But now, Nolan, take it away. Ask us some questions.
All right, go. First question this week from name undisclosed. I don't want to read their name from their email because they didn't add them, so maybe they just don't want to add it. First question: if you ever decided to become a pro wrestler, what would your wrestling name? What would be your wrestling name, and what gimmick would you have?
Well, mine's easy, but I'm gonna let everybody else answer first.
I would be the Taint Tickler.
Oh,
name and gimmick the same.
Name and the gimmick. Name of the gimmick's the same.
Sorry. No. The Grundle Grabber.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know how to follow that up. I'm gonna go with the obvious choice for me. I'm gonna do my Dexter throwback. I'd go with the Dark Defender.
Okay.
The Dork Passenger Gamerbait says. I prefer that one.
Dork.
That's pretty good. I like that one. Yeah. But Dark Defender, my Dexter reference for the night. I don't know what my gimmick would be.
I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like Crispy probably has given this some thought. Like at some point in his life has given this some thought, and right now it looks like he's trying to pick. Is like, okay, I got like 10 answers. I'm just trying to pick the best one. That's what I'm picking up on.
No. It's like I always like the idea of like a chef, or like maybe like a pizza chef. Just the idea of like having a pizza peel and like hitting people with it, I thought would be pretty good. You can like
so
throw flour in flour in their face 80s. And they're like and then you hit them with the peel.
Is that legal?
But the ref isn't looking, so they don't like. It's never legal. And then
I'm sure they had some racist stereotype in the 80s or something, right? Some Italian pizza chef
Probably.
wrestler.
Brad, do you have one?
What do you want me to tell you, man? I haven't thought too much about this. Well,
I don't know.
I'm gonna be one of those boring wrestlers that just wears his underwear and uses his real name.
Fair enough.
Hey,
I mean,
hey.
that in and of itself is a
His
gimmick,
name
I
is
believe.
just something like Fighting Brad Simon.
No, there's literally wrestlers that like just use their names and they just wear like underwear or that's it. And then they go and wrestle.
Like John
It's like,
Cena.
what happened there?
And just John Cena just usually wear like the jean shorts or something.
They're called
Yeah,
shorts,
but even that's a look. I mean, there's dudes who literally are just wearing like those short underwears, wrestling underwear, and then they go
Whitey
and fight.
tighties.
Yeah. No, not tidy
I'm
whities.
Brad Simons, and he walks out wearing whitey tighties.
Little briefs.
They're called hatapantsu.
Yeah, they're wrestling hot pants. Like they're fucking a high school wrestler or something. And then they go fight.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, that would be me. I'd be
Next
Brad
question.
Simons.
Oh, what about like a fucking homunculus made of meat? You just wrestle covered in meat, and you pretend to be like a giant meat golem.
Sure. Is that sanitary?
I'm just having flashbacks to like the Lady Gaga. Like I used to, like what I'm talking about.
And
Like,
to get powered up, I take a
like
bite of
more
meat.
I think like an entry thing would be like just being like covered in blood, like the meat mountain.
see, this is
meat.
This is what I.
Well, the good news is
on pain.
If you get punched in the face, you can just like put
Oh,
your
you
arm
could
on
have
your
you could have
eye.
like a move called like the tenderizer, the butterfly.
Crispy
I
over
think
here
Chris
pretending
Davis
like
could
he
be
hasn't
like
thought about this.
Raise the stake,
And then
you jump
be
off
like
the top
the-
rope and
then the Dork Defender comes out and he's like, "I'm gonna pound your meat."
hit him with a spare rib.
Maybe Chris Davis could like be like the builder, like the PC builder, and he has the most comically large PC tower case that anyone's ever seen. And it's like I didn't even know they could be that big. And Chris Davis was like, I got a lot of stuff in there.
And then like he opens it up and he like presses their face on the motherboard. It like burns them like because it's running so hot because it's really.
I'm really curious about this very eccentric and actually surprisingly violent iteration of wrestling that Crispy like uses like actual weapons to like physically harm people.
Yeah, it's called wrestling, Nick. The Undertaker buried a man alive on national TV when I was a kid. I saw it. Like,
oh, yeah. I guess I'm just ignorant to
Don't forget
the
what
wider
happened to
world
Mankind
of
in Hell in the Cell.
professional wrestling. I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about. Next question.
Next question from Joshua from Massachusetts. Is there a mechanic from one of your favorite game series that was removed that you would really like to see come back? Example for me. As a longtime fan of Fire Emblem, I miss the elemental triangle, fire, thunder, wind. Since this dramatically changed, how would you spec your characters?
Well, Brad seemed like he had an answer immediately.
Well, no, I was like the Mako, but then they did bring it back, sort of. I guess
What you liked? Everybody hated the Mako.
No, not everyone hated the Mako.
We talked about this, Nick.
All of us are crazy people, Nick.
Bad memories.
I hate the Mako.
You guys are the fucking.
The Mako.
You guys are the fucking dumb idiots who look at something and say what it is, and like Brad and I are the brain geniuses looking at something, thinking of what could have been. The Mako could have been amazing. It was such a great idea, had so much potential. You dummies.
I didn't play Andromeda, but did it come back for that? Some version of it or something?
Yeah. There's a Mako like
crucial.
Thing. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, here's a big one. Here's a big one for me. Monster Hunter Tri had underwater swimming and underwater hunts.
Yeah.
And people had complaints about it because it felt underdeveloped versus the stuff you can do on land, but it was fucking amazing and it was like exciting. It was atmospheric, right? Because you would see like a body of water and there'd be something down. It was fucking exciting. It was underwater hunts, but people complained about it. So instead of refining it and improving it, they just removed it from the series after Monster Hunter Tri. It was just gone. I would love for that to come back because you know how all the maps are getting so cool and vertical and the way you can traverse them. Like underwater is just the same thing but down. And fucking come on, bring it back. God damn it. It was so cool. I mean, you see like a little pond, but it goes way deeper than you think, and there's a monster down there, and that was exciting. Damn it. Bring it back.
I'm trying to think of specific examples, and the things that are coming to mind are less about like
remember
specific
when Assassin's Creed had a multiplayer?
Goddamn crispy. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about 3 and how like they just kind of fucked it with 3, and so afterwards they never brought it back again.
That was a good one.
But think about what Assassin's Creed is now. Like that's not even the same kind of game.
So they don't. It doesn't matter. You could still have a mechanic where you're blending in with crowds, and you get rewards for doing like better.
They were so close to like coming up with something that could have been like an Among Us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like an Among Us or like a Pie Party, that kind of, you have to, maybe that would have been a more benefit is you have to do tasks to get points and shit. The problem with, I think 3 was when it got real shitty was that the whole mechanic was everybody had their own target, and so it was almost like a circle to an extent of targets unless somebody was really high up and then a bunch of people had them. But all people would do was just run around until someone started chasing them, throw down a smoke, and then stab them in the smoke. You killed your attacker, and that's all people ended up fucking doing. And it got so dumb when I wanted it to be smarter, more methodical, like the ability to kind of like make an NPC do something weird, but once
it's weird, it's almost like the player base almost kind of ruined it for everybody.
Definitely they did. But
what about factions?
What about factions? What happened to factions?
Where instead of fixing the multiplayer in Assassin's Creed, they just fucking dropped it completely.
Yeah.
I would also love to have factions back.
They stopped at the worst possible time too. They were so close to like. Fucking stupid. I don't know. Let's not dwell on it.
I was struggling when they removed multiplayer from Ratchet. I thought it was really cool and like up your arsenal and stuff, and then they got rid of it when they jumped to the next generation. But it was really cool because Ratchet has like such cool weapons and stuff, and they had some neat multiplayer ideas. And I hate how they removed that. But yeah, sorry. Nick,
I was struggling to think of a specific example, but then it kind of came to me. Like, I feel like 3D Mario games, like Mario 64 had this like magical formula to it that I don't think they've ever quite matched. And I like the jumping into the paintings and having like the names of the stars kind of give you clues as to what you're supposed to do in the world to find the star, and like always knowing there's like 6 that you have to go into each painting, and each figuring out what each one kind of means is one of it. And they've kind of come close to it on some of them, but I don't know. There's something I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about but you're right.
Not a mechanic. It's not a mechanic, Nick. You're just saying you don't like any Mario games since 64.
No, I love Mario games since 64, but I still think 64 is probably my favorite because it had some magic to it.
Bowser's Fury kind of fixed that. They kind of brought that back to an extent where you're in a certain area, you have a star name that you're going for, but instead of jumping into a painting, the world itself kind of changes around you.
Which is why I think Bowser's Fury is probably up there as like one of my favorite games I've played this year.
If they don't take that and make that the basis of the next Mario game, they're a bunch of dummies.
I feel like that's almost certainly what's happening. That was like
Bowser's Fury. Maybe that's what I'll rent since I removed Biomutant from my.
Do it.
Gameplay
Bowser's Fury is absolutely worth it. It's incredible.
The one I would come up with, and you're gonna roll your eyes at this, but Ace Combat Zero, it had an honor system built into the combat to where you would get in a dogfight, and based on what you're, there goes Nolan, based on what you do in response to damaging an enemy, whether you just let them go after damaging them and they bug out, or you actually go for the kill and as a mercenary, it would alter the flow of how you would meet enemy aces and how you would be perceived in the world. And it was a really cool mechanic, and they never brought it back.
What about that one Ace Combat game where, like, when you were in a dogfight, it would zoom way out and you could, like, see the little plane?
Okay, that's Hawks and fuck you.
Ha! God, for a
How
second I was like, "Oh,
dare you.
Brad is being very serious," and then I was like, "Wait a second, this doesn't sound right. This can't be good." All right, let's get on to the next question.
All right, moving on. Next one this week from Negative Cosine. Regardless of the actual quality of Earthbound games, it has become defined to the point. Sorry, deified. Sorry, I thought I was reading that word wrong. It has become deified to the point where it is impossible to live up to. What other games do you think are worshipped beyond what they are? That's a good question.
Wait, what was the example?
Yeah,
what
but
was
it's
the
also
example
like
he
he's
gave?
talking shit about Earthbound and Mother 3 and
Earthbound.
stuff.
Well, Brad, I think he's just talking about the fact that, once again, to how you reacted to that. That, Earthbound, it fucking perfect game, so great. But then when someone goes and plays it, they're like, it's okay.
This
So
may sound
we
like
asking, like,
blasphemy, but like
A lot of older beloved games like Chrono Trigger and
Chrono
stuff,
Trigger
right?
was my example, yeah.
But usually a lot of people go back and play those and they're like, yeah, this is pretty legit. And I feel like Earthbound, still gets a lot of love even when people revisit it, especially Mother 3.
I think it depends on your headspace, where you got into
Yeah.
game. Some people just have harder times with that older style of game. Maybe they just don't enjoy them as much. And so even though it might have an amazing story, they might not have as much fun playing it.
I feel like I'm a better person now, so I might actually enjoy Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI, which are both up there on my list.
Wait. You're not a better person until you enjoy Chrono
okay.
Trigger and Final Fantasy.
I mean, I was just like, I am now someone who has, I am a person of taste who has now enjoyed Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I feel like I'm also a PC gamer now. I don't know if I've told you this before. I'm a PC gamer.
True.
So I think
you are just becoming a better person.
I think these two things combined have made me a better human being. Therefore, if I was to actually go back and try Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI, I might not drop them like a sack of potatoes this time.
Here's a hot take. Ocarina of Time. It is not.
That's pretty good.
I'm not saying it's not, but I am saying it has been deified. And I do not think that game lives up to its deification.
If you were born after 1998, then yeah, I would agree with that.
Born after
1998.
Wait, I think Chris Davis, he's just saying that there are far better Zelda games out there than Ocarina of Time.
I think there are.
This is coming from someone who's played Ocarina of Time. Who here? Raise your hand if you played Ocarina of Time in the past 6 months. Because I have.
Ready.
Yeah, I have. And I'm not saying it is a bad game. I'm saying my memories of it were a lot better than what I've been playing.
I have played it in like the last 2 years. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and my only rebuttal to that would be there are definitely Zelda games. There are definitely better Zelda games from a design and mechanical standpoint, but I feel like there are not many Zelda games that have a certain I don't know what, like there's just some magic and some charm about Ocarina of Time that I don't think has been effectively recreated.
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, je ne sais quoi. I honestly think Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild has a magic to it that is special and unique in a very similar way. Not the same way as Ocarina of Time, but like it's going to be unique to that game the same way Ocarina of Time is kind of unique to itself. That may not make any sense at all, but it did in my head, so we'll go with that.
I feel like a lot of NES games get deified because they're the start of like a lot of these very successful franchises, and the NES was such this huge thing back then. It saved the industry, right? But when I see like best games of all times list, right? Like these are the best games ever made. A lot of times you'll see people bring up like where those maybe franchises started, and you'll see stuff like Super Mario Bros on that list, right? But like the first Super Mario Bros is like, it's good, but it's like this really simple, straightforward game, and it doesn't get like magical until you start to get to like Super Mario Brothers 3 and World and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's an age thing, but I just feel like there's a run button. I get it.
Hot take. I like Majora's Mask more than Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hot take.
I agree with that hot take.
Did you also play Majora's Mask recently?
No, it's been a while. But I definitely remember more things from Majora's Mask.
Well, I was informed recently that the most valid opinion of a game comes from the person who played it most recently. I've been told by several people on the Mass Effect channel that I don't remember Mass Effect 1, so I couldn't possibly have a valid opinion of it versus the people who've played it recently. So I guess I just have to replay it, or I can no longer have opinions on that game.
All right, let's move on.
Regardless, you should replay it.
Next question from Tack from Alabama. The Stalker franchise has a difficulty scaling that I appreciate. The higher difficulty you select, the more damage both you and enemies take, as opposed to just making enemies into damage sponges. What other games have interesting changes from difficulty to difficulty?
Ooh. See, that would require me to actually experiment with difficulty more often, but I almost 99.9% of the time I play on normal, and that's my only experience with the game. So
what was that? What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No.
The last part, just the last part.
What other games?
Sorry, go ahead.
What other games have interesting changes from difficulty to difficulty? So more than just like let's say take the Uncharted franchise for example. That is a bad use of difficulty sliders because in that, yes, enemies become bullet sponges and you find less ammo. That's not exactly a great, way to increase the difficulty.
Yeah. What I like are when like I think of like action games like Platinum Games or maybe like Devil May Cry or something. I believe like Bayonetta does this stuff like that where when you play on a harder difficulty, it's not just that you take more damage and stuff. It's that you'll see like that when enemy encounters, like the composition of enemies will change to where enemies that you didn't encounter like until later in the game on like a normal playthrough show up a lot earlier in the game, right? So it's not so the game is more demanding because you're having to deal with more and harder enemies, before you're normally expected to, right?
Yeah.
Which I think that's a really cool. Yeah. Like I think Capcom in general has kind of always done that with a lot of their core franchises. Also, I like to think back to, like Diablo, 2, right? With like the different difficulty levels where you go from, you go to nightmare and then up to hell, right? Where enemies start having like resistances. Like before, you could just spam everything and you would just be able to kill everything. But all of a sudden, you start coming across enemies that could like maybe resist the one thing you invested in. So you have to be a little smarter about your build so you can handle like a variety of like situations where you can't just rely on that one attack that you've always used before. That stuff's kind of cool, right? Because it's not just it makes you approach the game differently, more cautiously, more carefully, right? So
right,
yeah.
Anybody else? I wish I had more to say on this topic, but I'm
Like I want to point to a specific CRPG that came out in the past several years that had like a bunch of like modifier sliders to balance your playthrough how you want. I forget the name of it though. It wasn't Pillars of Eternity. It was something else.
I mean, honestly, I feel like any game that doesn't just do something basic like throw more enemies at you or make enemies take more damage, anything that puts more thought into it than that, I think is worth at least praising. Just for thinking outside the box. Because difficulty should be more the question of difficulty should be more complex than that.
Yeah, like games with lots of like difficulty options to like change it in some really interesting ways. Like that stuff's always good.
Well, let's get to these last two questions real quick. Let's go through them kind of quicker. Negative cosine, because this is a kind of news related one. A lot of people wait to buy the Switch version of indie games. So a portable Steam console sounds great on paper, but it's very hard to break into the handheld market, and Valve had a poor history with hardware, Steam machines, and controller. Do you think there even is a market for multiple handhelds? Do you see Sony jumping back in? To answer your last question first, no.
Yeah.
They're done.
I do not.
They've already taken that gamble, and I think they lost. And I think their main platforms are doing so well right now that it's just kind of like I think that it probably seems a lot like their fan base kind of spoke. They spoke with their wallets, and people weren't really particularly interested in a handheld Sony console. I mean, I feel like the general interest in handheld gaming overall might have waned a little bit in recent years. And I think the only reason the Switch is the exception is because there is no distinction anymore between the handheld and the home console with that platform. It's kind of like you are playing the same game, you switch back and forth. That is the beauty of it, and therefore the handheld.
Well, I think that's the point of this Steam portable console in theory, is you're supposed to be able to play your Steam games portably.
Yeah.
But how does that work? Like, I mean, some games are more demanding than others in terms of like.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna. I mean,
PC games scale, man.
Yeah, they a lot of them really will scale based on what settings you do. All PC games are very versatile when it comes to that. But what is being implied by the rumors is that Valve is developing a Steam OS that is Vulkan based and is supposed to be compatible with metric fuck ton of Steam games, and they can scale the games to certain resolutions and frame rates to be compatible with a handheld system. And a lot of these games are already built with like X input and controller based inputs natively, especially if they're ports from other systems. So it can be done. I mean, having my Steam library on the go is a really interesting, proposition. And if it's
it absolutely
priced
is. Right, I mean, I think I think, like you said, first of all, if it's possible and Steam is interested in trying, there's no that money that company has more money than God right now, and it's kind of like, why not try? If they fail, it almost doesn't matter. So, but like if the distinction is no longer like this game, this game is for Steam handheld, this game is for Steam desktop. If you're playing the same games, if I can play a game on the go and then come back and load it up on my PC and continue right from where I left off, abso-fucking-lutely. I would love to see them try that. I can't promise it would be successful, obviously. It sounds like that thing would probably be fairly expensive. But then again, I mean, we're talking about people who play PC games already, who, a lot of them are dropping, thousands of dollars on components needed to run games, at super high resolutions and shit like that. So it's, the proposition of getting a portable machine that can allow them to take those games anywhere might be quite successful because of that. Because just the general audience is maybe more willing to drop more money on a device like that if it's seamless.
Are they saying that it's supposed to be like a true handheld? I'm sorry if that.
I mean, we know that info already. The rumors are saying that it is a 7-inch Switch-like with like plug-in Joy-Cons, like the Switch Lite. It's like the Switch Lite, but with a 7-inch display, 4K capable, and it's supposed to be like $400. So that's competitive.
Yeah, but is it going to be like remote play? I mean, is it going to be like? Are you going? Is it going to be like streaming the games, or is the game actually going to be on the device?
Supposedly, it's capable of that cloud streaming gaming thing, but evidently, it's supposed to be compatible with regular games that you just install.
Hey, I'll say, well, so maybe it's something like a lower impact, like indie game. You can play it like right off the hardware, kind of like what's the VR that doesn't need to be hooked up, but if you want to play like something more intensive, maybe you have to stream it or something directly from your PC.
I mean, it's possible, but the rumors are suggesting, like, for example, all of Valve's library is supposed to be compatible with it. And if you think about that, that's a lot of for a handheld. Those are powerful games.
Okay, well, I'll say this, man. The Switch is like my indie device, right? And I get mad when an indie game comes out and it's not on Switch, right? I'm like, fuck this indie game. Who does Loop Hero think they are, not being on Switch? It might be nice to have a handheld that could just play Loop Hero when Switch doesn't have it. But
you can play on Switch now. Moondawn.
See, but let's that's not one that I would play on Switch.
Final question for the evening from Connor from Scotland. Since it's the free game of the month right now, I've been playing Subnautica for the first time. It's great, obviously, but I'm starting to get the feeling I'm never going to finish it. Having already played a lot of the game, I've started building that thing at the very end. And the scale of what's left to do is almost too daunting. It might put me off the rest. Are there any other games that you've that you really enjoy but just can't bring yourself to invest the time to finish?
Okay, so one I have right now that
I play?
Yeah, I mean, like I have so many games that I've started that I love that I want to go back and finish. The game that I've literally been thinking about since I started it, that I God damn it, I am going to go back and finish it. I have not uninstalled it. I won't until it's done. Is that Walking Dead Saints and Sinners on VR? I'm enjoying the shit out of that, but shit keeps coming out, and I keep having trouble finding the time to do it. But let me just say to your thing about Subnautica, if you're already starting to do that thing, one of the reasons why I love that game so much, and why it was one of my favorite games of that year, and why it's turned me on to the survival genre as a whole, is because it has a definitive ending. Like, you are working towards a goal, and when you reach that goal, it is so satisfying, and then it's over. The experience is over. And like, there's not a lot of so many survival games are just like play until whatever, until you get tired of it and you move on. Like, but this is a very clear-cut beginning and end kind of thing, and that's what makes Subnautica special. So I implore you to finish it. Anybody else? Come on.
I mean, everything I play.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh. Oh my god. Oh my god, Crispy, you haven't finished that yet? Crispy. No.
How many times have the credits run for you, Chris?
What?
The credits.
That's a bad way. That's a bad way to put it. He hasn't finished the game. He knows he hasn't.
Okay.
He knows what he did.
Man, I'm gonna loop Crispy on Red Dead Redemption 2.
Me too.
Do it. Fucking do it, man. It's just I think I love that game, but every time I boot it up and start playing and have to do like combat, I'm just like,
all right. I got some answers. I agree with you, Crispy.
Throw a hatchet into a dude's face in that game and tell me it's not amazing.
That's good. So good examples for me. Persona 5.
Oh, yep, that's a good one.
I loved every minute of that game. I listened to its soundtrack all the time. It's another one that I have uninstalled and reinstalled multiple times.
Can't do it.
Yeah, very daunting. I'm still playing on. Don't get me wrong. It took me years to finish 3 and 4, but I eventually finished both of those games. So I will finish 5. Another example is Judgment. That's another game. There's been a couple of Yakuza games that I've started and just kind of never got around to finishing because it's one of those situations where games that have so much to do and kind of like lots of decisions that are just kind of dropped at your feet can often be daunting. Assassin's Creed Origin. Never
That's a
finished that
big ass
one.
game. That's a big ass game.
Yeah.
But it's also very good.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is not exactly the same, but like Neo 2 has been sitting there, and I've been like, I want to get back to that.
That's not the same because you've not started it, Nick.
No, I haven't. But I haven't started it because, like he's talking about with Subnautica, it seems so big. It seems so like this game is just it's going to demand so much of me. I almost can't. But a lot of that has been because after I finished Sekiro, I was like, I need a long break from this style of game because holy shit, that game.
It's been long enough. I'll say this. Maybe after we see the new Final Fantasy Neo game or whatever it's going to be, that'll get you all hyped to play.
It absolutely could do that. Absolutely could do that. I hope it does.
And
actually,
it's got the PS5 version now.
Yeah, I have Neo 2 sitting over there, like just like waiting for me to put it in because I'm just like I'm gonna go to it. I keep moving stuff ahead of it. So, so many things. There's so many things. Is that it for questions tonight?
Yeah, that's it for this week.
Then real quick, I like to read some feedback from our last episode. Not a whole lot, but a couple things worth mentioning here. Again, if there's anything you want to say after tonight's discussions and you want to chime in on something or make your opinion on something heard, please leave us a comment at 4playernetwork.com on the post for this episode, and we'll get to it next week. Mr. Scorpion writes, in regards to the Mass Effect conversation, I can definitely see the validity of both viewpoints regarding the planet exploration. To Chris's point, those random planets you could land on were bland as hell and ugly to look at, mostly only serving to boost experience and money and maybe collect minerals if you're into that sort of thing. That being said, Brad's point about the charm of them existing at all got me thinking about what Mass Effect going forward could have been had they chosen to expand on that in meaningful ways. I'm personally okay with where it went in the end. I love all the games for different reasons, but I'm imagining a rich universe that felt even more alive thanks to optional exploration and possible side quests is certainly an appealing concept. I completely agree. You know what? I think that's one thing I'm waiting. I'm kind of like holding my breath, waiting to see what this new Mass Effect game is going to be. I'm hoping they're listening and like they know. Because I feel like if enough time has passed, they could probably extrapolate what they tried to do with Mass Effect 1 out into something much grander and much more detailed, much more meaningful, because so much of what I don't like about Mass Effect 1 at these days is just kind of rooted in I don't think they had the budget or the time to really make this what they wanted it to actually be. But, it's a big franchise
just so
now.
Unfortunate that they finally decided to expand on some of those ideas in Andromeda, but by that time they were already bad at making video games.
They also actually started production on Andromeda like 3 years after they fucking announced the game. So
Andromeda
they didn't put the effort into it. So,
but you know what? There's a lot of people that swear by Andromeda that it gets a bad rap.
Andromeda has some good things about it.
People say it gets a bad rap. I think swearing by it, probably not too many people.
Yeah, I agree with Brad there.
And lastly, Slopdog says, siding with Crispy on the survival on or off debate for Subnautica, having survival on adds that extra layer of incentive. Without it, I wouldn't have gone looking for salt to make disinfected water. It pushes the player to travel to unknown parts of the map. Not a deep mechanic, but it makes you consider how you travel more carefully. Well said.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else needs to be added, but well said. All right, let's wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. You all know how this works. Hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you, any combination thereof. Brad, you always start us off. So.
You could say a bunch of hypes, take the easy road if you like.
You bitch.
Me, I got a hype, sweat, fuck you, and thank you. Instead of just saying a bunch of video games that are coming out. But anyways, my hype.
This fucker.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little critical of some of y'all's. Okay, whatever. Sorry. My hype is for a game that's coming out. I I don't think we ever mentioned it because I don't think. I mean, I just sort of forgot about it, and I'm pretty sure y'all didn't watch it. But they did release like a pretty extensive like gameplay demonstration of Tales of Arise that featured a lot of combat, and like I think the combat looks pretty good. I'm a Tales fan. I'm excited. I know people were excited about that first trailer because you're like, oh, it's like the graphics are different now and this looks cool. But I think this does look a little bit different than Tell's games have looked. And I'm pretty excited. Like the combat looks really cool. It's coming out in September. September is going to be a pretty exciting month in general because of this and Lost Judgment and Deathloop and whatever. I feel like those games actually have a good chance of actually making it out this year, unlike some of the others. So I'm excited. Let's just say September. Also, other reasons, but my sweat is. Someone talked about. I heard this going around the conversation going around Discord, but apparently that Kenna Bridge of Spirits game is supposedly just like a few hours long. I don't know how people know that. It's not coming out till August, right?
I said that because they did an interview with the director like months and months ago, when this thing around the time this was originally announced, and he said you could comfortably beat this in like a couple sittings.
Oh, I thought this was like a video game, not a
No,
fucking
dude,
walking sim length game.
No, I don't think
But
it's a walking sim, but I mean, it's definitely
no,
not
it's
going.
walking sim length.
Oh, yeah. Supposedly, this is a game you can beat in like 3 or 4 hours. So
no, they didn't say that specifically.
One
right?
sitting?
It could be a couple of long sittings, right?
Yeah, I would say a couple of sittings. I would probably put that at like 6 to 8 hours.
I'll see if I can find the source on it because this was a while ago, but I'll see what I can find.
My fuck you, or I'll say my fuck you. My thank you for this week goes to Nintendo goes to Jason Schreier and Nintendo. Apparently, Switch Pro is going to be something we find out about very soon. I think I heard the rumor saying that it's probably just going to be $299 and replace what like is currently $299, which is very exciting. I'm glad they're not. If that's true, they're not gouging us for like higher resolution or whatever. I'm so glad that this is going to be a thing, and I think they're saying like as early as is like September possibly for when it releases, and that would be pretty great because I really want this thing to exist before I'm playing the next Zelda or next Metroid game. I would have liked to have had a Switch Pro for playing Monster Hunter Rise, but I'll have a Switch Pro before I play Monster Hunter Rise G or whatever the expansion is called.
Hey,
so,
real quick, Brad, I found one of the sources. It was actually the Game Informer cover story they did a few months back. They did a Q&A with the developers, and it was 20 questions, and one of them was, how long is it? And it's quote unquote, it's tough to put an exact number on this because of the number of side activities, but Josh says they set out to make something players could comfortably finish over a weekend. So
wow.
That it could be 10 hours. I don't know, but it's not as long as I was certainly
Resident Evil 8 is something you could finish over a weekend as well, and everyone did. So, also, fuck Tales of Arise hype. Darkest Dungeon 2 got a cover story on PC Gamer. That stuff is out there. You should go read about it. Oh, I'm excited about Darkest Dungeon 2. But anyways, my fuck you for this week goes to the Skyward Sword HD $25 amiibo of Zelda and a fucking bird from that game, which why would you want that fucking amiibo? I mean, think about it, right? If you've either haven't played Skyward Sword or you hate Skyward Sword, right? So why would you want an amiibo of the character from Skyward Sword? You don't know if you're going to like those characters if you haven't played it, and if you have played it, you know you don't like those characters. So fuck that amiibo. But the real fuck you is that it's $25 and it's locking a quality of life feature, of which Skyward Sword could use a lot of quality of life features behind the amiibo, and it's $25. And what it lets you do is go from the ground to the air and like back to the ground like instantly or whatever, right? Which is like a huge quality of life thing that the original didn't have. You had to go to like designated points in the world to be able to do that. And just I remember the backtracking of going back into dungeon. You can even be in a dungeon and do it, which is cool because you would find like those those cubes, right? That would unlock like a chest up in the sky. Oh, Nolan didn't play it yet. Unlock
I've
a chest up
literally
in the
never
sky.
played Skyward Sword, so
Yeah, well, it sounds like more than fast travel. It sounds like fast travel with some like legit utility, quality of life stuff. But Wind Waker HD came out, and you got stuff like the fast cell, which was like huge, right? Not having to like direct the wind with the fast cell was the biggest part of it. And it's like, imagine if they locked that behind a $25 amiibo. That would be fucking bullshit. So I don't know.
Here.
Fuck you. I mean, this should not even be. I can't believe that this is their anniversary thing. It's just such a fucking blah.
Yep.
Fuck Skyward Sword.
Crock of shit. Crock of shit.
Yeah.
All right. Chris Davis, how about you go next? I can't. Chris Davis, you're muted. I can't hear you.
What is this? A fucking Zoom call at work?
Yeah. I have a number of things here. Let me go through them. My first hype is for finishing my Mass Effect run.
First hype.
Well,
Sorry.
hang on. I'm not counting just upcoming games, Brad. Calm your tits.
Okay.
I have finished Mass Effect 1 and 2. I'm closing on the halfway point of 3 right now. And I'm just really enjoying seeing the transformation this series has gone over in the in the 5 years it took between Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I'm having a lot of fun. And seeing these characters grow and exploring, getting that instant gratification of seeing your decisions in 1 and 2 paying off in 3 feels better than that 5-year jump. So, my second hype this week is for a game that I learned about today called Breakwater. It's a early access game coming out later this year. I think it was quarter 3. But it's basically Stranded Deep meets Valheim. Where you're on an island and you're trying to survive, and there's kaiju monsters on the island and stuff like that. And you have the ability to manipulate water. You can totally Exodus or the 10 Commandments kind of split water and go down into areas and pick up treasure chests and resources and stuff like that. It kind of looks pretty cool. So I'm going to keep my eye on that one. I have a sweat/fuck you this week. Today, amidst all the other news that happened, a YouTuber accidentally published direct footage of Far Cry 6.
Accidentally.
It's gone. The video's gone private, and I bet Ubisoft is super pissed about it. But they showed off the footage that's going to be appearing tomorrow. And what they've been showing is the new gimmick for the game is that you have a backpack that is modular and customizable. And it's outlandish shit. You could have this artillery backpack that when you activate it, it shoots mortars in front of you and just rains down artillery and shit. There's also a flamethrower variant where it kind of launches you in the air and does a flame burst all around you.
You said backpack, and this doesn't sound like a back. This sounds like
that's not the kind of backpack I thought you were talking.
You're selling me on this game right now, Chris Davis.
Yeah,
so those sound awesome.
It is over the top.
If there is not a variant where that becomes a jetpack.
I mean, you kind of do get that boost in the air at kind of like a jetpack, but it's very brief.
That is not the vibe I got from the first trailer of this game.
There's also your companion animal this time is now it's a crocodile that wears a t-shirt and has a gold tooth. That's your companion animal this time around.
Are you talking about the new Dead Island game? What
no,
the
I'm talking
fuck
about the new Far Cry.
About? I'm confused.
It has a giant gold tooth on it, and you can pet the crocodile. It's your thing.
This can't be real.
It's real. I'm telling you, it's fucking real. You will find out tomorrow, or you can watch a mirror of that.
The first trailer was very serious and dramatic, and
all of these fucking games start with these trailers that are dramatic and shit. But the series is also about outlandish bullshit happening in this world. In Far Cry 5, you have a fucking bear called Cheeseburger that you feed cheeseburgers and you send him out to maul people. Like, that's what this series is, man.
That is true. That is a thing that happens.
But also,
so we got Dead Island trailered. I get it.
Kind of, yeah. But also, fuck you to Ubisoft, because fuck you for this entire how you've treated the Far Cry franchise. And Nick and I had a back and forth about it on Twitter. But like, fuck Ubisoft and how they've handled Far Cry 6. This game looks fun, but I know it's going to find a way to piss me off.
You're so mad about Far Cry 5.
That's what I was saying.
I could
like if it wasn't for 5, he would still be like, I love this series.
No, I'm still mad about what they did in 3, and I'm still mad about what they did in 4. And you know what? I had that flashbacks to 2. Like,
so you hate the series. Okay.
So I kind of hate the series, yeah. I kind of do. But it has that
stop playing them.
But it has that decent gameplay loop that's interesting. They throw shit on top of the cake at the same time. And it's
fun playing these really games, but I don't like them. But I have fun playing them, and I want to keep playing them, but I don't like them.
Exactly. That's my problem. Okay.
It just makes me so angry.
We all have them, right? We all have those games where we hate them, but we love them.
If you want to have a half-hour discussion about why I hate Far Cry 5, I am willing to do
it.
I
don't.
You don't want to have this on the podcast right now. And I was going to have like a thank you / pour one out for All Games Delta, who lost their URL and may not be coming back, which is kind of sad.
But they've lost their URL like a million times.
They've done it like 5 times at this point, but it kind of feels like they may not be coming back after this. But I instead I'll do a hype. This might be on Nolan's, but I'm going to say it anyway. It has now been confirmed this evening that Merle Dandridge will be reprising her role as Marlene in the Last of Us TV show.
Which seems kind of odd that they're using an actual cast member from The Last of Us to reprise her role, but like other major characters are completely different. Seems odd, but you know what? Whatever.
Those other characters are mostly
everyone's favorite character, Marlene.
And Merle Dandridge is an actual actress. She has done a lot of live action stuff.
That's
fucked up, Chris Davis. You can't say that.
Yeah. That is fucked
Voice
up.
actors aren't actual actors.
You know what I mean. That's live action work versus voice work. There's a
difference. I'll tell you this. I'd rather one of them voice actors be a character than Tom Cruise. What the fuck was that rumor?
Oh, Tom Cruise is going to be
Starfield.
Oh, in Starfield,
Tom
apparently.
Cruise is going to be a big character in Starfield?
They don't. No, nobody has Tom Cruise money. No, that can't be true.
Microsoft probably does. Anyways, Nolan, your turn.
What's up? Well, so hold on. So,
wow,
I'm confused.
When did this become the 4-player 10 minutes?
Always,
it's 8 years ago.
Yeah. No. So what I was just saying is I'm confused by him saying that Marlene is an actual actress.
Wait,
right?
Why are we dwelling on this?
Well, no, he's saying that Ashley Johnson is not. Fairly certain she played Chrissy Seaver in Growing Pains.
I know, but she can't play. She can't play Ellie in the show because she's like way too old to be Ellie.
Holy shit!
Yes, she was the daughter in Growing Pains,
and she was the waitress that Captain America helped up in the Avengers, and she's all like, "Oh my god."
That's true.
I mean, I never saw Growing Pains, so I don't know, like...
But she's also way too old to play Ellie, so that's why she's not
I'm
playing
not saying that. I'm just saying he's saying that she's the only actress, and she was saying that no one else is an actor or actress.
That's not what I meant.
Roll the tape back. That's what he said.
That's what...
all right, my 4-player minute starts now. Chris Davis, please don't interrupt my 4-player minute. My hype, I finally beat an elusive target in Hitman. The Iconoclast is the first elusive target I've ever taken down. Just because I've kind of been in a Hitman mood lately. Finally decided to do it. Trying to kind of get back into maybe playing that game a little more regularly since they keep putting out content. For those that don't know, elusive targets, you have one chance to do it. You can restart a mission, but as soon as you've killed your target, like, you can't anymore. So if you kill them in a dumb way and then someone shoots you, game over, man. Good job. So you really do really actually have to think about them a little bit more. So I
It's
had fun trying to.
exciting, right?
Dude, yeah, I had fun trying to do that one. This one, like the funny thing was that she like, she walked up to a counter and talked to like a waiter, like someone serving wine. Like I don't know if they were actually a sommelier, but she was like, "Oh, I was wondering if you all the what was it, the Malt Blanc or I don't know, whatever the wine was." And they're like, "No, we can't find a bottle." And I was like, "Oh, I'll find a bottle and I'll poison it and then serve it to her." And then so I find one. Yeah, it was not a Merlot. It was something else. Um,
Pinot Grigio.
it was not a Pinot Grigio or
Oh
Pinot
my God,
Noir.
guys.
So anyway, so I finally find it and I go and I'm standing there and I'm waiting and I have this glass of poison like liquid in front of me. And then okay, so I guess it wasn't Merlot. Whatever, I don't care. And so then I'm like waiting for her and she comes up and she's like, interesting. And then she just like walks away and some other guy walks up and he's like, "Oh, thank you." And he just drinks it. And I'm like, "No, this is not how this was supposed to happen." Yeah, I was right. It's a Malbec. Thank you, Persuade. Anyway, so finally got around to killing her. My second hype is for a Switch Pro. I don't play enough games on my Switch handheld. Like 99% of my Switch time is not handheld, and I'm really hoping that a Switch Pro has a little more power behind it, and so I do have that drive to play them handheld. Because generally, one of the reasons is they always, they lower frame rates to a bit, and they're just not as crisp as when you're playing them docked. So I'm hoping the Switch Pro kind of changes that. My sweat this week goes to Biomutant, mainly for everything we talked about already. I'm just worried that I'm not putting it down. I'm going to put more time into it. I'm just worried that it's not going to grab me, and the little flaws are just piled up too high. But we'll see. And my fuck this week is going to be a where the fuck is Tunic? Like, holy shit. Like, I've been waiting for this goddamn game for years now. Nick, when did you and I play it at PAX?
When we were still going to PAX?
Yeah, however many years ago. And that was years after the game was already a thing, too. That I was just thinking about that the other day. Apparently, it's supposed to come out this year. But where the fuck? Like, I really want to... What's up?
Do you remember the original name?
Ooh. I do remember that yeah,
it was
something
really
like
generic.
that.
Secret Legend.
Secret. Oh my God, that's
Jesus
so
Christ.
bad.
But anyway, where the fuck is Tunic? I really want to play that game, and it's nowhere to be seen. All right, that's my 4-player minute.
There we go. Crispy.
I volunteer to forego mine to end this episode now.
Also, I apologize.
Wait, really?
I didn't know Ashley Johnson actually she had quite a career. I apologize.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
I didn't know. Now I do.
Are you really foregoing, Crispy?
You want one? Okay, I'll give you a quick one. I'm hyped for the Darkest Dungeon 2 screenshots that leaked. That stuff looked kind of cool. I'm I don't know, fucking I don't know, man. Yes, I don't know. Yes. Yes. I did have ones and I lost them all. I can't think anymore. We're done. I'm done. You know what's really weird? I spent all day today on YouTube watching videos about Five Nights at Freddy's lore.
No.
For some fucking reason. And it is so weird and convoluted and like inconsistent.
I think that was a good use of your time.
But also kind of cool. But I'm never going to play those games, so what does it matter? I don't know. Maybe I'll play Containment Breach. Or Security Breach or whatever the new one is. I don't know. Whatever.
Sure, why not? Fuck
Fucking video games suck, man. Look,
The new one coming out actually looks pretty cool, right?
yeah, it's like the first
actual
one where
game.
it's like
It's not. It's
you
not jump
like
scare
walk
simulator.
around and avoid. Yeah, you're like in a futuristic mall or some shit. I don't know.
I'll play
Crazy-
that. That sounds
Crazy
cool.
Stuff. Doesn't make any sense, but it kind of
Is that your-
does.
Nick,
Is that your 4-player minute?
That's my 4-player minute.
All right,
went longer than a minute.
I'm sorry.
My fuck you this week goes to we had a conversation in Discord a while back before Biomutant came out, and believe me, I know Biomutant has its fair share of issues. You know, I just feel like there's some benefit to being willing to like try something out yourself. You know what I mean? And coming to a conclusion yourself, and not necessarily relying 100% on what critics say about something. There's so many games that I love from this past generation, the past 10 years, that if I had listened to critics, I would have not played them, and I would have missed out on some of my favorite fucking games of the last 10 years. What's up, Nolan?
Not to poo-poo, but a little devil's advocate.
Sure.
Not everybody can afford to.
No. That's
hold on.
That's obvious.
I understand, but I will agree to an extent. If someone doesn't play a game and just regurgitates what they've heard about it, I don't know how much that's adding. Yeah. So it's like, well, I heard it's a bad game, so it's a bad game.
I mean,
I don't know if that adds anything to a conversation.
If money comes into the equation at all when you're trying to make a decision about a game, of course, whatever, that's totally fine. But if the reason you are skipping
money
a game,
is no object to you,
but Rick is privileged enough to not worry about that.
My fuck you the week goes to both of you. I'm just saying, if there's a game that you're fucking excited about, and the only reason you're not playing it is because a couple critics said they didn't like it, and it has nothing to do with money. Fuck you. That's all I'm saying.
I feel you on that one.
And of course,
on the content of the reviews.
I'm being playful.
I will say I would not have actually spent money on Biomutant to try it. The reason I chose not to rent it is because of the content of the reviews, not the scores. Where
I'm not saying
the things they were saying set off alarm bells saying this is not for you.
I'm not saying there's no value in them, and I'm not saying you can't factor that in. I'm just saying there are people who just decide something is complete shit, and who are just like, they read what somebody else said, and like Nolan said, they regurgitate it, and when they could have maybe tried it out for themselves, played it for like an hour, and then said, maybe they're right, or maybe I actually really like this. Like I said, I'm specifically saying this because there's several games that I love. Sure. That if I had listened to reviews and let those, like Days Gone being a huge example, so many red flags when I was reading reviews in that game, and I was really worried about that game when it came out, and now it's one of my favorite games of all time. So.
Yeah, but I mean that's a good example. Though what you read were not red flags for you, and that's why.
No, they were, dude. When I was reading reviews for Days Gone,
I remember Nick
worried.
being worried about Days Gone. Yeah,
very, very worried.
He wasn't.
In fact, I was fully prepared to be like, okay, this is going to be a bummer, and I'm not.
You were living in a post Mad Max world, which means you had
Mad Max being one of the other games I'm thinking of here.
I know, but I'm saying like you became comfortable with the fact that like I get why people don't like these checklist style games, but this is my shit. So I think when you saw that, that's kind of like, maybe what Days Gone was doing. I mean,
But like Biomutant is very much that kind of game, and I could see myself putting that down. It's like there are games like this where it just doesn't work. And there are certain things about whatever. We need to move on. My sweat goes to I adopted a puppy today. Robin and I adopted a puppy today. And, it's a puppy, like a puppy ass puppy. So, I have not, it's been a long time since I personally have have been the caretaker for a dog, much less a puppy. So, a little worried about that. But she's very sweet and she's very lovable. But, it's going to be a little stressful around here for a while.
One thing I will say, Nick, especially with puppies, they grow up very fast. Yes. In 6 months, this puppy is going to be about 5 to 10 times bigger than it currently is.
I know.
So it will still be acting like a puppy.
Correct. But take a lot of pictures, and then when you think you have a lot, you don't, and then take more. Mm-hmm. Like, I very much regret not... I mean, I probably have hundreds of pictures of Butters when he was a puppy, but I don't think I have enough. And so that's my recommendation. Once they hit adulthood, whatever, all the photos look the same. But I'm saying when they're a puppy, that's
Noted.
when you
That's
don't get me wrong. I probably took like 10, 15 pictures of Butters today alone. But
that's a wholesome ass recommendation, Nolan. I appreciate that.
Have you thought about taking her to puppy school?
Oh, we already have. Robin is like gung ho on like we're gonna train the shit out of this dog, and she's like she already has appointments set up and everything. So yeah, we're good. Let's see. I'm gonna do two hypes. My hype, my video game related hype is fucking Dying Light 2, dude. I am so fucking excited for that game, and I'm so happy it has a release date now. I hope it lives up to at least some of its promise because it looks incredible. But of course, my real hype this week is I've watched that fucking Dexter teaser that's like 15 seconds long. I've watched it probably 20, 25 times. Man, this thing is doing everything. It's doing everything right. I'm so fucking excited. I'm so fucking excited, guys. Nothing in the video game world even comes close to touching how excited I am for this new season of Dexter, which starts in the fall. I totally thought that was going to be a 2022 thing, but man, they are moving right along.
Is 20 to 25 times 15 seconds how long it takes for you to climax, Nick, or did you climax multiple times?
Multiple times. Absolutely.
I think he just edged for 2 hours.
Maybe. Also, Robin and I are watching we're in the middle of watching the last season right now, which obviously is the one that everyone says is the worst, and I tend to agree it's my least favorite. But you know what? I haven't watched it since that originally aired, and watching them without, watching it now, I'm enjoying it. I know the season goes to some weird places, but I'm enjoying watching it now a lot more than I did when I was watching it. Maybe it was because I was so sad that it was ending back in the day that was kind of consuming my opinions on everything. But watching it now, I'm actually enjoying this season quite a bit. And let me tell you, Jennifer Carpenter is fucking incredible actress. Holy shit.
We are going to set up a Dexter channel when it comes out, right? In the Discord?
Dude, I was fully prepared to continue with that Dexter channel you set up the other day, and then Jaeger deleted it. But hey, whatever. I'll start one eventually. It'll be called Talk to Nick About Dexter, and you can pop in there whenever you want to talk to me about Dexter. That'll be the whole point of the channel.
Anyways, why not call it the Dork Passenger?
I'm ending this podcast now for Crispy's sake. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. We'll catch you guys later. I don't know if we're doing a show next week or if it'll be a game night or whatnot. We got one of those coming up soon, I'm pretty sure. But either way, thank you so much for listening. 4playernetwork.com is the website. You can find all of our podcasts there. You can find us on Discord at discord.gg/4player. And of course, if you want to support us financially, head on over to patreon.com/4player. We'd love to have you. And with that, be safe, be good, get vaccinated. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week or whenever to talk about video games. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.